Previously.
1, 2, 3.
X-Rated, the X-Men Animated Review Show.
We just have to be sure.
All right, checking. Yep, this is X-Rated, the X-Men Animated Review Show, the show where...
Every moment is a new and shocking valuation of all we have ever been.
It is most definitely all of that and more.
Speak plainly. Who are you?
Well, I will answer you, Goddess Storm. I am one of your hosts, Davelin Pryor.
We almost got him.
We just...
Don't look at me. You can only look at my co-host and our guest tonight. Thanks, appreciate it. And with me, of course, is my co-host.
Get on back to the swamp with the rest of them nasty thieving critters.
Mm-hmm. That's what, right?
Yeah.
I'm not quite vegan, but I'm close, I guess.
I believe it was thieving critters.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Those damn vegan critters.
Those those damn vegan critters in the swamp.
Yeah, that's right below.
Not eating no gators in that swamp.
We
The
can make
old
it a
vegan
microphone
swamp.
All right, yeah, welcome. Hey, everyone.
But
Andre.
you are thieving because you stole the hearts of all the X-Goons.
Oh, really? Well, I need those back. They're going to need those back at some point. I'll deliver them.
Yeah, that's a real
Those
Mr.
hearts
Sinister
back.
henchman move right there.
That's right.
I need those baskets back.
I need those baskets back.
That's a deep Canadian reference.
Well,
And we have a
you-
guest, of course, a wonderful guest.
Another deep Canadian.
Oh, again. He's back.
I just love the he pulled off.
X-Dan's back.
into
X-Man
the
Dan
abyss.
is back.
Welcome back, X-Men Dan.
Yeah,
Speaking of
thanks
deeply
for having me
Canadian
back.
stuff, did you hear the
That's
sad
what I was
news
gonna
today?
say. Oh,
What now? Oh, very sad news today.
Yes.
Indeed. Yeah, we lost a lot of laughter tonight here in Canada.
Joe
Laughing.
Flaherty, star of SCTV and a lot of other things, passed away.
Oh.
You may know him as the guy from to our American listeners. You may know him as the guy that yells "Jackass" and
You
Happy
will not
Gilmore.
make this putt,
Yeah,
jackass.
that is probably one of his most famous American roles. However, he is a
Maniac Mansion was on the Family Channel.
Oh right, yeah, but he is a stalwart Canadian actor who's been in
It's SCTV.
many things, most notably SCTV. I actually met him once. He was very nice.
Oh, wow.
I was on set with I was on a set for a TV show in New Minas with your ex-wife's sister, I believe, Davin,
Mhm.
and him. So yeah, he was really nice, very cool guy.
Very cool. Yeah, it's a sad times. But we're here to have a good time. So,
Not a long time.
R.I.P.
Have a good time.
The sun doesn't shine every day.
Sun don't
Let's
shine.
catch up on old times.
What are they up to?
What am I up to?
What you think they doing down there, Dan? X-Man Dan?
Oh, what I think they doing up
What's
there?
new with you? Or what's going to be new in a couple weeks?
Oh boy, right. I'm sitting in what was once my man cave and is now soon to be my daughter's bedroom. Although not that soon because she's not born yet and she'll be in our bedroom for a little while. But geez, that's pretty new. And
This
that's
is your
coming
first
fast.
child?
Yep.
Oh, congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
If it was your second child, I wouldn't congratulate you, but it's
Yeah,
your
it
first.
would be
Again.
kind of,
I'm just kidding.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
Get it
When
out.
Davin had a
There was
second
some-
kid, Davin had a second kid. I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, I
so
don't care
a lot of-
anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of extra feels there. Is it my first child? Am I a clone? Is it a clone child? All
Well,
this
I was
and
gonna
more.
ask,
for sure.
have
We
each
know
of
what
you-
they would.
Did each of you get your DNA tested before the show to prove you're not clones? As I instructed
know.
specifically?
I do it in the Klingon style. We will cut our hands and see if we bleed. And
Because much
we'll
like
know.
Rick Sanchez, I have made several clones of many people I know, and I can't keep track of them all anymore. So you may or may not be clones. I don't know.
Oh, I'm touched that you'd feel like I'm
If I
friend
was
enough to
a
make
clone
it
Sure.
of yours,
Once I figure out,
you-
once I know your
you
last
remember.
name, I will consider you a good friend of mine, X-Man Dan. But anyway.
Well,
Dan,
X-Man Dan, we
man.
know what they were doing down there about 9 months ago.
Right.
Oh.
About 9 months and
Oh.
like about 9 months shy of a week.
Oh, wow, that is close.
Yeah, so if I have to run in the middle of this because my wife goes to try,
There's no
I
excuse.
apologize.
No,
There's
honey,
I don't have
You will
the-
sit here until the show is over.
honey,
Oh.
you're gonna wait until I'm done my X-Men podcast. Then I'll
Listen,
drive you to the hospital to have our child.
pre X point though, how is Wolverine in all his years that bad a driver? I'm not even that bad a driver.
He's panicking.
Like,
He's panicking.
I
here.
know.
Everyone
I will-
panics under childbirth.
This
Not
is-
me.
mu-
So I'm
much
cool
like-
as a cucumber.
Much like the previous episodes, this is a fantastic episode, but there's a little just because logic that filters in that I'm not a fan of that I'll address when it comes up.
That was last episode, to be fair.
yeah.
But I
Oh,
just
right,
had
that
to-
was,
I just
yeah,
had to
yeah,
point that out because I'm gonna be, peeling off hopefully with a little more.
Do not drive like Wolverine when you're taking your wife to the hospital.
Well,
No.
what did you think of give us your quick thoughts on the first 2 episodes there, X-Man Dan.
Oh, my quick thoughts. Listen, I loved him. Some of the things that I thought were my least favorite nitpicks, as you guys pointed out, accurately, would have been the biggest losses or detractors. They were kind of recovered in this episode anyway. Namely, I like Morph's weird voice, and then they at least featured Morph's face. Spoilers for this one. I liked it a lot. I don't necessarily love Wolverine being the heel of the joke any more than he has to be, but that's the Wolverine they made him in this series. Until
I
he's
feel
got
like
some-
Gambit gets it way worse than him in this particular episode, but we'll
that's different.
yeah.
That's this episode. I'm talking.
Oh,
about
you're
the
talking about last
two
episode.
episodes, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
Wolverine gets
In
plenty of
summary.
shine, though. He gets plenty of time to be the cool guy.
It's funny in a
It's
show
nice
that's
to reverse it.
evolved to allow for some bloodshed. Finally, I doubt we're going to
Mm.
see anybody skewered for a long time to come. So it's like, bring back the Sentinels, please, so we can
Oh,
give
you
them
don't
something
think?
to cut up.
You don't think Wolverine's gonna snickety-snicked on somebody?
Not proper, not much.
proper-
not
Unless
proper
Sabretooth
shaman.
comes back.
It's wait till him and Sabretooth go at
Oh,
it.
Sabretooth's definitely
That's
gonna come
be
back.
bloody.
I want
Oh,
to see.
yeah.
I want to see what happened to that kid of his that was left to Sabretooth's devices. No,
Yeah, it won't be Creed. Yeah, it won't be the same without Don Franks. But
I think we can see him come back.
Yep,
Oh, not
But,
Don Franks,
yeah.
but I think we see Greg.
not Don.
come back.
Probably not Don Franks.
I think we can see Don Franks rise from the grave and revoice Sabretooth.
Yeah,
we are here
If
to
Don
review
Franks is
they're stellar.
If Don Franks is coming back from the grave, he has to do the sequel to My Bloody Valentine before he does X-Men 97.
Cousin Dave asked, "Why did Cyclops say he wouldn't abandon his son and then immediately abandon his?"
Because
son?
he was
Don't
shown
we
evidence
talk
he
about
had
that, Dave
to.
Mater?
He was shown evidence he had to, or he died.
No, yeah, he's
Marvel
like,
found out that X-Man Dan wasn't happy with how cool Cyclops was in the first 2
listen,
episodes.
Cyclops
And
is
then
such
they
a
had-
bad dad. He couldn't even be there to
He
abandon
couldn't
his
be,
son.
to be the bad dad. Like, he's like
Abandoning
one
his
step
son.
He
removed.
abandoning his son.
One step removed from bad dad. Yep. He'll get there. He'll get there.
I mean,
Uh,
really?
Well, he's a good leader. So
Yeah,
maybe.
and
Maybe.
good leaders
We'll
and
get
good
to that
dads aren't
question.
synonymous.
Cousin
Good
Dave.
dads and good leaders probably not synonymous either.
Not necessarily.
Not
A
necessarily.
lot of famous people in history that were considered leaders were like stepping out on their wives and kind of crazy shit like that. So they may have did a lot of social changes, mean they were good husbands or good fathers.
Mhm.
Who knows?
Mhm. And let's not break down husbands versus good dads vis-a-vis.
Fair enough.
You know.
Two very different pods, I guess.
Previously on X-Men.
Oh wait, I'm supposed to keep a clip for that. That's how that segment.
You son of a gun.
Well, I don't have a clip from last episode, but I'm
Well,
going to bring
all right.
that back. We're bringing that back.
We're all happy
But-
together in the house. Oh no, it's someone that looks like me at the door.
Yeah.
There you go.
Get
Oh yeah,
busy.
no, I know what it is. I know what it is.
I need the X-Men.
The X-Men.
X-Men.
It's funny though, like
Good,
they have
good impression though.
the most hilarious thing ever. They have the real Jean Grey show up, and the first thing she does is faint, which like falls right into like all the like memes and stereotypes.
Yeah, so like
about-
we finally get a
Totally.
cool, strong Jean Grey, and it's not even her.
Yeah. That's pretty funny. I just thought of that. But yeah, so that's the previously on X-Men. That's definitely where we left off there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're here to review Fire Made Flesh. I mean, as many people may know, it's a slight adaptation, I should say, of the Inferno storyline, which is many comics across many titles.
Yeah, it was like a big event. I remember the omnibus for that is like huge.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Cousin Dave with another good question, which was actually going to be one of my X points. But yeah, why did Jean choose the name Madeline Pryor?
Yeah, that was another just because. Also, why
That's
did
my
she?
biggest nitpick. With the
And
episode.
also, why did she choose the colors of the Goblin Queen? Also, never explained.
That part's fine because there was.
It's
freaky
not fine. It
goblin
doesn't
shit
make any
everywhere.
sense. It has no relevance to anything. The word goblin is never said once in this whole
No, but it
episode.
makes no-
It doesn't do anything.
It doesn't make
It's-
any sense in the comics either, really. The name Goblin Queen. So
No,
that's-
but yeah, maybe not. I guess, but I just mean in the sense of this show, you'd be like, well, I was just like, and I shall be the Goblin Queen.
but
you
at
know,
least
like-
in those moments, she's like kind of insane and being controlled by Sinister and like.
I
just
guess,
crazy
but it's still
magic
like
shit happening
a
everywhere.
strange name to pick. That's like,
Not
I
gonna
will
lie.
be the fair.
Yeah.
If I become a villain, I shall become the fairy king. It's like I've never referenced fairies ever in the entire time we've been together,
I
or
thought as
my
soon as I
desire to be a
saw-
king.
Like as soon as I saw the outfit, even though I knew what they were going for, it was obviously the Goblin Queen. I thought they were going to actually throw Black Queen there. For
Yeah, well, they kind of
like-
did that before when she was in the.
but that makes
the
sense
Hellfire Club.
then.
Yeah,
And
at least it was established.
Sinister
before.
somehow becoming like having a story arc that involves himself in the Hellfire Club would have been worth it. It doesn't seem like they went with that payoff.
No, I just yeah, those are my two biggest issues.
I like all it needed was Jean be like, "Why Madeline Pryor?" And like, and that would have like solved the whole thing. But instead, she's just
So
like,
why,
"Oh,
though?
cool, Madeline Pryor." I mean, I'm you. and
Well,
you're
at least
me.
Spider-Man was, at least when Ben Reilly showed up, he was like, "All right, well, I want to choose a name that's a tribute to Aunt May's maiden name and my Uncle Ben, so hence Ben Reilly." Like, you know,
though,
at least that makes sense. If she'd even said like my cousin or our aunt or something, you know, then it would have made sense.
does she have to say it? They share all the same memories. Maybe she knows why Jean knows why she picked the name Madeline Pryor.
I
So
guess
it
it's just
can
weird.
remain unspoken between the two of them. But it is
Davin, I'm going into hiding. You may refer to me from now on as Miguel
Yes.
Sanchez. And I just walk away.
Miguel Sanchez.
Yeah, wait, that's
Yeah, but
from The Simpsons. But if I pick something
Yeah, yeah.
as obscure like that, like my name is now
My
Jorge
name's
Rodriguez.
Miguel Sanchez.
My name is now Jorge Rodriguez, and I just walk away. And you're like, why Jorge? You're not even Hispanic. Why? You know, like it would make no sense.
I'm Springfield's best law talky guy.
If I don't win your case, the pizza's free. Well, I didn't win your case, so here you go. We did win. Oh, that's okay. The box is empty. Wait, he goes.
Honestly,
Looks behind me.
Until the point at which she said her name, I wasn't 100% convinced which one of them was Madeline. Like, I guess the ponytail was the defining
That's the-
feature for
that's
a
the
point.
hit. That's the
And then I was like, okay, so she's wearing the jeans and the shirt. But for a time there, it was as believable that Jean Grey herself, like the real Jean Grey, was like, this baby's gotta go. It's
Go.
breaking up my relationship. And then I was like, oh shit. And then I found out which one it was. I was like,
Yeah, it's good. I
okay,
gotta
well, I
fuck up
guess-
this baby.
And then even then, like they part, and I'm like, and what, like, you know, Jean could have, if she's the more powerful telepath, switched places. Like,
Cousin
Uh,
Dave, maybe it was like Jean's fantasy name, like Art Vandelay.
That's our Van Ray
Vandelay
Industries.
You want to be my latex.
You want to be my latex salesman? All right, you want to get into
I'd
this?
be a good latex salesman. Yeah, get into it.
Latex condo. I'd really like to live in one of those. Another Simpsons line for you. All right, so we see Beast doing tests on the Jean Grey that passed out on the street. Well, Jean Grey is trying to enter her mind, but when to get some images using her powers, but in doing so, sees a dense mind. She says that is it's vague and uncertain, which is fun because they throw in some a few clips that are memes here, which are funny when she's going through the memories. One of them being the one where like Scott is holding Jean in the background and Wolverine's in the foreground, like right there. But they, that one they always put where it's like, I can't remember some particular ones, but there'll be stuff over their heads, and then Wolverine will be the one over here that's like getting screwed over.
Leaving claw marks in the door frame.
Yeah. But it says like
words will fail to prepare you, but the Jean that lies on this couch would appear to be the actual Jean Grey.
It's just the way he says it. The actual Jean Grey, as if they were all expecting.
As if he's explaining it to us instead of the people in the room.
Yeah,
that's a yeah. There's a lot of blunt force with some of the. Not a lot of nuance in this episode, and not a lot of nuance around Jean Grey in general, unless it's all so on the nose that it's like even more nuanced than you think.
It's so on the nose. It's not on the nose.
Right, from the same woman who brought to you like, this is from when we were on the blue side of the moon and I was possessed by a cosmic great entity force. Mm-hmm. Like as you pointed out, Storm is like, I was there. What's
expositionary dialogue?
So if she's that blunt, how are we expecting she?
Well, that's just clunky writing. Sometimes it's like expositionary dialogue to bring the watcher up to snuff. But you're right, because then we make the joke about the people up. Then we make the joke from The Simpsons where he's like, here we are arriving at Mr. Burns' mansion. And then she's like, we know, Dad, we were there. And it's like, I just thought we all should remember that we were, contracted to be here for a week, or something like that. Like, it's just all very like overtly.
Just a reminder.
What an odd thing to say.
Still makes me extra suspicious of her. Like when she's recapping all those memories as you're describing, she sees them in a lot more detail. The only thing that's not detailed is the face of Jean Grey.
No face of Jean
She's
Grey.
Like, oh, I don't know. It's a lot of fuzzy memories. And it's like, no, those are pretty clear. Come on, Madeline.
She even says that it's like she has no sense of identity up until a day ago when she awakens. And she sees this Jean Grey awakening from a laboratory and then wandering to the X-Mansion through the woods. I'm not sure how far Sinister was, but apparently it's close enough for her to just wander there on foot.
But that's what she says. That's verbatim what she says. But you see in the scene all the different things that like Jean Grey went through in the different periods in time.
Yeah, it may have something to do with. But when she's doing that, she gets a little flash, and there's a little like psychic diamond that appears in her head, the same as Sinister's, which is a nice little touch, where she sees him laughing, and it kind of pushes her back.
A lot of crazy imagery in this one, for sure.
Yeah. But they don't know who she is or where she came from. To which Morph makes a joke about how this is going to get confusing. And then Beast,
Jean Doe.
Yes, that's what he says, yeah, which is fun.
That was funny.
But this is when Beast drops the bombshell that this woman.
I used gamma rays to isolate the hemoglobic properties of both genes' genetic markers, effectively carbon dating each woman on a cellular level.
English sugar.
He could have just said, "I tested their blood, and this one is a clone." Like,
he can't. He has to. Yeah. He has to Twain. He has to have the beastisms. Yeah.
So positive with this information, Jean gets defensive and angry that no one believes that she's the real Jane because she feels as though she is. So Scott just says we need to be sure, and she feels betrayed by that. Kind of storms out of the room.
Fought by your side in countless battles.
Saying I fought by your side in all these battles.
How many times? You know me.
Oh, sorry. I was playing it on my screen to go along with describing it, and you actually played that right at the exact same moment that my screen was, which made me think that I was not listening to the right thing. Good timing,
edit this part out. It was intentional.
I just inceptioned Andre.
You kind of. Have I? So anyway, yes. I always love how Beast is like big, but he always seems smarter than everybody else. He's always so hunched over.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I forgot that old Sunspot's hanging around.
Sunfire. No,
whatever.
Sunspot, you're right.
Yeah, Sunfire's the other guy. The better guy that should be on the team. The arrogant Japanese guy that I like.
Yeah,
he is awesome.
But this guy's fine. I guess they had to give Jubilee a love interest. So Scott says they need to be sure. She takes the baby and wanders off and is like alone, thinking about her memories, saying the Beast tests are wrong. She can't be. She's definitely this kid's mother. Scott says that nobody's questioning that, you're definitely the kid's mother, but there's some other things that have to go to get this figured out. She wants to be alone with the kid. Then she gets an ominous message through the baby monitor, which is a voice we're all familiar with as Sinister. This movie, this episode is very cool in that it's almost like a little horror movie, which I really like. Like the stuff.
The baby monitor thing is very creepy.
Yeah, and all the stuff that happens in the mansion after is really great too. I'm a little sad we didn't get the Beastie Boys there, but
she's like, "Who are you?" "Oh, most people would just call me Mr. Sinister." It's just like, okay, just tell her then.
it's also like you're trying to like win this woman's like not trust, I guess, but just like to have her come to you or whatever, and you're like, "Oh, just call me Mr. Sinister. I have nothing nefarious planned in your future, I swear. I'm
Bring
just
your
Mr.
baby to me.
My name is Mr. Stabby Kill, but you can trust me. I promise I will not stab nor kill you."
I don't
Mr.
know.
Stabby
I feel like you're
Kill
gonna
does
stab
it
or
every
kill
time.
me.
Yeah, I should have led with Nathaniel.
This is where we get a little blurb about we see that Bishop is inspecting his time watch thing, and it's almost ready. Apparently, he says the future's calling him home, so he's got to go. B said he can finish it when he finishes resolving matters with his superfluous teammate. Meaning, two Jean Grays would be pretty good to have on the team. I wouldn't say she's superfluous.
That's pretty funny.
So this is where we find out that
there's a bunch of jokes about it in this episode, though. Everyone's taking it pretty lightly. Like,
considering somebody's life is a lie, and somebody's going to find out that his wife possibly is not his wife, and his kid is not with the woman he thought was his wife. They're all like pretty cavalier about it.
Like this one.
Logan, one too many redheads for you. Here, need some help with those hard to reach spaces.
I was gonna say, who doesn't take it lightly? Logan, the whole time.
True.
He is serious
Which
about
is very in
shit
character.
about the whole thing, including the child safety.
I mean, Cyclops is taking it pretty serious too.
Yeah, that's true. How can you not? He's pretty gutted. I can't imagine. It would be a horror movie for me.
Do you have Beast dialogue here? Because this is actually a pretty good line.
I have this one. Is this the one? I don't know.
Like a genetic or a scientist?
dear.
Like, no.
I think one of us has the wrong floor.
That is a great moment. But no,
Yeah.
when he says, "Scott, you have to get to Gene immediately," and he says, "Why? What's wrong?" And he says, "You have that one?" No, okay. He says that scientists or geneticists like artists, apparently, I don't know if this is true, but that leave signatures like artists on their work, that leaving markers that can tell you who did what, and that the man who
in Star Trek and stuff, like
when the man who created this clone is a man so dark and twisted that he can only be referred to as Sinister. Once again, like time is of the essence here, dude. We gotta run and stop her. If Beast had just said it's Mr. Sinister and that was it, we probably might have stopped her from all this insanity taking off.
That is just not how Hank McCoy rolls.
So yeah, she has moments talking to the baby monitor with this man who wants her to bring the baby to him, saying that because of the unique genetic makeup of Jean Grey and Scott Summers, this was like the end result of all of his planning was to have them have a kid, which would end towards, whatever his dark leanings were. We know this is Sinister, of course. And he starts implying that we don't really know exactly when he cloned them, but we do see clips from his both of them in his lab where he puts the little diamond into Madeline Pryor and calls her his queen. So this may be where the word queen comes from. But I don't know where the goblin comes from.
There's goblins everywhere, Andre.
So we see her smash every picture in the room of the X-Men and Jean and the baby, or not the baby, but her and Scott and everything else. She really smashed up all these things. Mm-hmm. It's a nice horror moment where she's like kind of unraveling because his hold on her is taking over, in which she's like taking all of the old costume and things in the room and change them into her current costume. The baby starts crying and her eyes are glowing green. And she says, "Mommy's busy," which is like a nice little horror. It's a lot of horror bend to this episode, which I really like.
Kind of reminds me of WandaVision.
Yeah. And it seems like they kind of pick almost not genres, I guess, kind of genres. Like every episode seems like a genre from a film genre, kind of. And this one definitely seems.
I was
like
gonna say,
one.
yeah,
So
like
far?
each section or many sections of this episode. I don't know if this is an X point that I'm getting ahead on, but then we'll miss too many if there are. Yeah, each section, many of the horrors they run into are themselves homages to different specific kinds of horror.
Of horror
like
movies,
even,
yeah, I agree.
I felt
Which I
like what
noticed.
Like,
Beast
there's
ran
the
into in the
Thing.
elevator was one thing. The Thing,
That's
Clive
like the Blob,
Owens influences.
and then, like, the
There seemed to
Thing
be even
is
like
like-
Akira. I was getting Akira vibes from the Professor X teddy bear thing when the the
Oh,
mental. Yeah. So that for me, I don't know. A lot of really cool references all the way through.
Beast
Anyway,
is always in haste, but never in a hurry.
Yeah, probably should have heard for that baby though. Maybe I don't know.
Good point,
Yeah.
MZ.
Yeah.
Good point.
probably could have made
So
it.
as she's becoming this new being with this dark costume and everything, we cut to Wolverine, Logan, or sorry, they're the same person. Logan, Gambit, and Morph coming out of the danger room. Morph says, "Well, it's a good session. Why don't we book for the next time?" And then starts going through all of the times that are booked in the future, and they're all Rogue and Magneto.
Rogue.
Every single
Magneto
one
and
is.
Rogue. Magneto and
It's
Rogue.
like 8 to and like I was looking at the times. It was like 8 to 10, 10 to 12, 10 to 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Then 12 p.m. to 2 p.m., 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. He's like, wow, Rogue's really training hard with the new guy, and
Putting
then
the
like
new guy through his paces.
yeah.
Hey, Gambit. Hey, bud.
She says something like she's really putting in stamina or something like that with the new boss.
Hey, Gambit, what you think they doing down there?
And then Gambit's like, it don't, and then Gambit's like, it don't say that. I'm gonna go check what's going on with Rogue. And he like takes
Yeah,
off.
it don't say that. Oh, shit. This is pretty funny.
He's like, on second
So-
thought, maybe Gambit go look for Rogue, and he takes off.
What's the consensus there, though? Is that Morph able to project his illusion onto the panel,
No.
or was that actually scheduled workouts?
Or he
No,
plugged
that
it in.
seemed
He
like
plugged it in before,
Oh,
He would do
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that's true.
and then
I think that's probably what it was, actually.
Yeah.
No, Rogue and Magneto were gone for a lot of it, and like show
and
up
then
together.
Occam's razor, though, he's a dick.
oh, but he's great.
Yeah.
But more
He's
like
great.
him and Wolverine have a laugh about it, and then Wolverine says, "I think he just knocked his hush puppies up into his stomach," which is also a joke that's probably a little more adult leaning, and probably we wouldn't have got before. But then Wolverine tells him to go hit the showers, and we'll see, because we'll go see about a redhead or at least one of them.
Yep.
So then Morph goes to hit the showers. I guess we see him,
No shit.
which is funny because Wolverine doesn't. He's just like, "You go hit the showers. I'm just gonna walk around and be sweaty, I guess." He just walks the other way.
And he's
This is
the
when all
one
the
that-
horror movie stuff starts, which is cool. This, like I said, it almost seems like the
Inferno.
last episode, like the next episode, we kind of have a vibe about what it's going to be. I know they released some info about it today.
Looks great.
It looks really fun. It looks super fun for anyone that loved video games from that time era.
I still do. I still
Oh, yeah,
play
me
the
too.
ones I play.
Davin's like, listen to Davin on some of these podcasts. He's like, nothing good comes out now. There are these games that are basically movies that are like amazing. Like the last Spider-Man game is one of the most amazing video games ever. It was like the perfect Spider-Man movie that we got as a video game. And Davin's like, these all suck. We need to
I
play
played a bit
Donkey
of that.
Kong.
I played it. Not the
We need to
most
play.
recent one,
We need to play games where a monkey throws barrels at a plumber, and
Oh,
that's all we
You're
need.
comparing new Spider-Man to Donkey Kong Country. We Donkey Kong.
No, not Donkey Kong
Country.
Country. Donkey Kong, sir. Donkey Kong Country.
Oh, no.
Okay,
I'm
look,
not
Donkey
gonna
Kong Country is a fun game. It is nowhere near as good as the amazing as Spider-Man 2.
Oh, well, we agree to disagree. Donkey
Okay,
Kong Country.
well.
It's a classic.
That's
Dan,
like that's
X-Man
like
Dan. X-Man Dan. Break the tie. Break the tie.
that's like
This is
saying
hard.
that's like saying
like
that's like saying
Well,
a
no,
musket.
it's-
a musket is just as good as like an AK-47, like or it's
It
better
is
than
not.
AK-47.
It's like a better
Absolutely.
gun than an AK-47. You're comparing an AK-47
It's like
to a
saying
newer
Roman
gun.
concrete.
No,
is
but one
better
is
than the
way
concrete we use
more
today
effective
because
and
it
well
was.
designed than the original
Yes.
was.
Roman concrete.
Okay.
Sometimes
Well,
things
but
get
the
worse.
funny thing is I find that like AK-47s to be the analogous to a well-designed older gun.
Oh,
Why?
fair enough. Okay, whatever the AR-714, whatever.
Yeah, it's something to that. I'm not a gun guy.
Yeah, neither
Like,
am I.
and
So.
the thing that's hard for me here is that I actually haven't played Spider-Man, although I would trust that I have played the first Spider-Man game, and
The
I know
second
how
one is
good
so good. It's so good.
was.
Little trivia note for you. Do you know why they call it the AK-47? Do you know why it's called 47, I guess?
It's
So
a
that's
47 round.
it's something Kalishnikov. It was made 1947. It was a trivia question. It was It was either the 47th version of that gun, or some of my questions, but one of the ones I had was the year.
It came out for because that would have had to been pretty late in the. Anyway,
Anyway,
Donkey
who
Kong I
cares?
have
There's
played.
no guns allowed
Donkey
on this
Kong
show.
is a
They're all
classic.
lasers.
But I'm not gonna weigh in that Donkey Kong is like a classic game. It will always be great. Spider-Man's probably a more fun play. Spider-Man 2 probably has an excellent storyline, and it's great that we get to live in a world that has that much more outside development of narratives we already love.
Yes.
See, I would say the opposite. Spider-Man's probably better in every way, but Donkey Kong Country's a funner play.
Oh, no way.
Video games are movies now, but to me, that's not fun.
Devin, you have real trouble with the line of nostalgia in reality.
No, I never liked that. When video games started having cutscenes, like if you couldn't skip them, I just shut the game off.
Okay. But there was a period of time in which you're still talking about that I was playing games for the cutscenes. Shout out to any JRPG fans out here who would just be like, go through devastatingly long 8-bit periods of time just to get this like tiny anime payoff that some developer made. And you're like, I would play a whole game. Why can't games look like that? I used to say growing up. And we're talking like
now they do.
Ocean, Wild Arms. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
In that age, like so, like that aesthetic, that mindset isn't new. It's just represented differently.
Resident Evil 1 had the first game I saw with like filmed cutscenes.
Yeah,
it wasn't just a made thing. It was like actually a mini.
But then we can all agree, Mortal Kombat was made out of mini movie cutscenes. Half of that was done off of like video edited animation.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
That's not.
But we didn't get actual like a movie. Like it didn't cut to a filmed movie.
A movie.
No, that's true. But then they made
the only
movie.
cutscenes I ever sat through were Conker's Bad Fur Day. Those were fun.
Oh, that game was a strange but fun game.
Yeah. Owned it twice and sold it twice. It just keeps remaining with money, so I keep selling it. Anyway.
Cutscene at the end of Super Mario 2. That's a cutscene worth fighting for.
I never beaten Super Mario 2.
What? You never beat Super Mario 2? You never beat Wart?
It's freaking hard. But
oh no, it's easy. Wart was easy.
It's hard when you're a kid. It's hard to get enough lives just to get there.
You know, it's the hard. I never found too hard. The one that I found hard was the game I had for the Nintendo, which I have the Nintendo Mini, so it's on there again. Is Star Tropics. That game was easy until you got to the last guy. He was tough.
Pulling it all back, yeah.
Man, that game was
pulling
fun.
it all back in. The X-Men Nintendo game is hard as
well. Oh yes. I found X Spider-Man the X-Men game really tough, especially the Juggernaut level. Yeah, the Juggernaut level with Wolverine was really hard to beat. I could never beat it.
Anyway, where are we in this?
We're going to talk about 16-bit X-Men games in the next episode of this.
So this is where more
yeah, that's right.
more feels like something. Sees some weird shit going on, so he wanders over to thinking that it might be Gambit in the shower. Wanders over and sees that it's Logan in there, and that's where he says, "There went too many redheads for you." And then he says, "What's about those hard to reach parts?" You know, and pulls out the claws. Then the voice, Wolverine's voice comes in. It's all dark and different, and it says, "Always with the jokes, meatball." He's like, "As if I don't know." Oh yeah, go ahead.
Well, just that one bit.
But it's cool when he says it.
About the jokes. I think I have the jokes.
Always with the jokes, eh?
It's like the worst horror movie ever. The whole mansion's possessed.
Never getting there.
I like this line.
Haven't you figured it out? We're in hell.
We're in hell. He's just having like a bad day. He's like,
you know what's funny?
Like, I didn't into his like.
I didn't have this theory before, but I'm gonna save it after I go through this for the end if I'm correct. But I have a theory about a lot of things about this episode, particularly the homages and the score, which we'll talk about. Which
so my X points.
That's all right. We can talk about it. We can share. Davin and I used to do this, just me and him, and then have the occasional guest. Now it seems like we always have a guest. So it used to be we'd have to come up with 5 or like 10 points each or 5 points each. So now with an extra guest, it makes it less. So it's fine.
While I share Sinister's apparent affection for Dante's Inferno, I must ask how he's exerting this much power over our perceptions of reality.
That would
You're
make
getting
sense.
ahead of me, Dad, and we haven't even got to this yet. So then we see Remy go into Rogue's room and see her in like a Tarzan outfit with Magneto, and they're like hugging. And he's gonna say it ain't so. But then they start merging together, and she tells him to go back to the swamp.
Is that called a hug? Also, that's a Savage Land outfit.
Yes,
for the
100%, which is an homage to the comics, which is going to be one of my next points. The comic where they joined, where Rogue and him were together. What issue was it? I have it here somewhere. We can save for later, I guess. But it is an homage to another episode of the where's it at? Yeah. Embracing Gibbs was just taken from Rogue's time with Magneto in the Savage Land, where they're briefly lovers, and Uncanny X-Men 269.
69.
Nice. So they merge together almost into one being as they're laughing at Gambit, which reminded me of another Simpsons reference, Devin, the one where Mr. Burns is in love with Marge, and then she's like, he gives her tickets to something, and he goes, she goes, oh, I can't wait to tell my husband. He's like, you're married? Yes, I can picture him now. Giant muscles, golden skin, hair blowing in the wind, and then she imagines her in like a Porsche with this model with like the flowing hair, and she's like, Homer, Mr. Burns gave me another race today. He's like, ha ha ha, the senile old fool.
He immediately hates her after that.
Yeah. And Jubilee and Sunspot are watching a Roberto are watching a movie, but then the actors in the movie stop and stare at them through the screen, and then
it's all poltergeisty.
Yeah, very poltergeisty, but then come out of the screen as some kind of a spider type creature.
In the Ring sort of reference?
Kind of. Jubilee uses her powers to sort of split it down the center, which is kind of gory, which is interesting. You see a little bit of gore and blood and stuff, but it doesn't stop it. It's kind of merges into Roberto's mother, who starts screaming at him about how he's
like the head inside the head part.
Yeah,
like when he's
like the
This is kind of the thing. Like it was kind of creepy.
I don't know. It kind of reminded me of Akira.
Then Morph actually made me want to watch Akira. I haven't seen it in a long time. Then Morph in the shower. We see the person that was in the shower is turned into Sinister and kind of descended upon him. We see Gim and Bishop running in the room to try to find the baby and see that she's not there, and then Bishop and Nathan's like, and he's like, I was like, Nathan, oh no, where is he? And then Captain Obvious beside him, Bishop just goes, well, this can't be good. It's like the baby's missing. Like,
I wish they had a moment just with Bishop like looking over at him, just
like shut up.
It's like what the fuck?
Then Bishop, the bassinet turns into a big monster which starts attacking them. It's called tendrils and stuff. Then one of the big stuffed bears has like a smile with teeth and becomes a really disturbing large-eyed Charles Xavier.
Look at Wolverine's eyes here.
This is demerits, my boy.
Oh, I got that.
No, you do.
Demerits, my boy. Failed to sire a child with the proper wife. Failed to lead the team. Flunk. Failed. Nazi.
That was almost going to be the clip before I introduced you, Dan. Failed to sire a child with the proper wife, but I thought it was like too close to the time of you actually having
his wife's in the other room listening. Like, oh my god,
Lizzie might not hear you right now. But, yeah.
She's like, who was the proper wife, Dan? Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I like to know.
She's going through a list of all your exes. She's like, was it this one or this one?
But you know what? It's not a term we use often these days, but pretty soon you'll be able to say, I sired a child. It's nice to say you sired something.
Yes, if you're an old-timey feudal lord, then yes, it's something you would say.
Some of us are, Andre. Some of us are.
Well, can I see your deeds of your fiefdom, please?
Look, I'm taking McNabb's Island back, okay?
Oh, good luck with that.
Brings a whole new meaning to crowning.
Oh, nice.
What?
He said it brings a whole new meaning to crowning. Get it? Because of the baby?
If there's things to say about the last episode, there are a lot of things about that birth that are not congruent with my recent learnings.
The fact that the baby is still was bigger than my 7-month baby is right
or
now.
that Rogue
had a hair.
Giant toddler.
Oh, I've seen babies with full heads of hair. Like
Full
newborn
head of-
babies.
well,
Yeah, full
I
heads of
mean-
hair, that's fine. That happens all the time. Sometimes babies are
No,
born
but
with
that
teeth.
is a
but-
baby. That is not an infant.
It was just
Have
it's a
a nose.
toddler. It's huge.
Just pick it up and then the umbilical cord just drops off. Yeah. Okay.
She's holding it. It's as big as her head and her upper torso. It's a giant. That baby would weigh like.
It's going to be
25
Cable.
pounds.
It's a big baby. He's strong as strong.
Well, it
lad.
better be Cable. We're going to talk about that though, aren't we?
Yeah. We all have a different.
What are you drinking tonight, Dan?
We all have a different X point on that one. I'm drinking. What am I drinking? Drinking Bushmills 10-year.
Oh, good choice. That's a good one.
Yeah.
This is leftover from St. Patrick's Day.
No, I don't go through bottles very quickly. I mean, I
Oh.
didn't anyway. And now with half of the people in the house not drinking, there's half the reason to drink.
You have
That
to
means
drink
more
twice
for
as
you.
much. Yeah.
I didn't have time to
You'd
grab a
think.
whiskey, unfortunately. But maybe next time.
I'm drinking, as Dan said yesterday, a blend of Protestant and Catholic whiskeys.
And what is that?
I
Is
think
this a
it's a blend
Boris?
whiskey. I mean,
Yeah. Why don't you
Jameson's-
explain that to him, Dan? Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. It's a Corblond song lyric reference where it talks about
He's like, one of the whiskeys is Protestant.
yeah, pleasing the North by drinking Tullamore Dew, maybe in the South for drinking Bushmills. You
Yeah.
drink Jameson's and you're in the middle because they're
Do
a blend.
Do you want
whiskey.
to know a
It's a
fact?
blend.
Do you want to know a fact that'll blow your mind? John Jameson, the namesake of Jameson whiskey, of the
J.
most
Jonah Jameson?
one of the most famous Irish whiskeys in the world, is Scottish.
That doesn't
from my
surprise me.
homeland. All right. No wonder I like this whiskey.
So we see there, we see that everybody getting attacked by various. We see Bishop being confronted with the face of his sister, who asks why he
Yeah.
abandoned her in the future.
Shard.
We see
When are you?
Roberto having to face his
Hold on,
mother,
hold on,
who's
hold on.
disappointed in the person he
Where's
is.
your home? When is your time? Where's your belong, brother?
No! You're not real!
Savior!
So this is where Jubilee says the
That
whole
was scary
mansion.
shit too, man. That was
There's a lot of great horror imagery in this.
really good.
Um,
If they were trying to play it for more scary rather than, like an
We see the
action
bit where
cartoon.
Beast is trying to get up to everybody, and he's in the elevator, and there's this giant blobby flesh monster that's there, and he says, "I think one of us has the wrong floor," which is lovely. But then when they're all trying to figure out what's going on,
I think one of us has the wrong floor.
You skipped the oh dear.
there's some very Studio Ghibli-ish disturbing stuff in this too.
That's
Which,
what I was thinking. that
Yeah,
kind
like
of
it reminded me a lot of actually the stuff I just saw in his newest film, The Boy and the Heron.
I have not yet watched that.
It's very good, but there's some big-eyed monster, big teeth things. The heron specifically. It's very weird. Yeah, there's Totoro stuff in here too. But anyway, we see them trying to get down to the basement, but then just before that, they're asking what's going on, and that's where Morph says it's sinister.
The most evil man who's ever lived, as he says.
And does he explain? Is this where he explains who he is, or does that come later?
No, I think he does it all here.
I think he explains it there. Yeah.
He's just like, yeah, he like, and he turns.
I'm trying to find the exact scene
with the purple bag.
Yes, I didn't think that was right here. I thought that was later.
Oh,
maybe it is right here. Oh no, it's later. It's later.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is where Morph actually says we're in hell. Have you figured out we're in hell? And then the floor busts away and they go to hell. I mean, it becomes pretty. They don't actually explain what's happening to them. It's pretty obvious, I think, that it's Jean's powers doing it to them all, but or Madeline's powers doing it to them all.
Yeah.
But they're all faced with the floor gives way. They fall into what seems to be hell with demons attacking them, and them having to
Whose
run.
powers
from them.
don't have to be the same as Jean's, because Sinister always tinkers a bit with his clones.
That is true.
Maybe he give her a little bit of Liliana powers. Maybe we're in limbo.
Okay, that's a nitpick. That's my other nitpick from this episode, since you mentioned it, Dan.
We're already there. We were already.
I only have two nitpicks. One is the whole where did the name Madeline come from, but the other one is we saw Ileana, I think, in like one of the last couple seasons of X-Men.
Just on the farm with Colossus. That's it.
Yeah, and she was a little girl.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But Morph's turning into her as like a 20-year-old, or at least like a 16-year-old.
Tell that to Warren Worthington. Like the retconning on who's where and why is a little bit.
No, but
fishy
Warren
when it
Worthington
comes to
isn't a different age. It's just like, well, maybe it's been that many years, but like
And also,
How
I
old was
mean,
Ileana in that initial one? How
at
old
no
is she
point do they
later?
call that little girl Ileana. It could be Ileana, could be an older, younger sister, and that could be a younger sister. Who knows? You know, it could be anything. So
He calls her Ileana.
oh, does he? I don't remember
Colossus
that. I don't
does.
think he did.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he
Okay.
does. Ileana, he says. Ileana.
In his episode, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they do a retcon where she really was dying of that reverse
guess that was
aging disease, and then
No,
when
yeah.
that happens in the series, that's when she was like youngening, and then
The
her-
youngening.
you know,
The
and then her
youngening. It's a
appropriately
great horror name.
aged version.
Oh,
Did you see
comes
that new
later.
horror film, The Youngening? It's very good.
You know, she was taken into limbo by the demon Belasco and lived there for a long time. Her time is
This
different.
is
Although
what I'm
it's-
saying.
It's
that's
not
the
she gets
answer.
young.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
that she is a subscriber to Carl Jung, the the animals. So
Yeah.
the youngening.
Well, Christine, I was going to ask this later, but let's talk about it now. So Christine is sorry if she's late to
Yeah.
the party. But
You are
when
Christine.
do we think Jean was switched? Do you think
We
would
didn't
get
really
an
go
answer?
into that.
I believe
I feel
Jean
like
does
we're
say
not
that
gonna
she
get
was.
that answer.
I believe Jean does say she was the Phoenix. At
No,
one
she
point.
No,
says
man, when
don't
she's
know who was
leaving,
the Phoenix.
yeah, when she's leaving, we don't know
Yeah.
who was this, who was that,
Yeah.
who married Scott.
That
The
was
only
my
thing they know for sure
prediction.
is that so-called Madeline Pryor had the baby.
Yes.
I think it does
That's
some
the-
injustice
that's
to
the
the
only
character. If not,
significant-
I would agree with that. I think an explanation it would be nice to have there, just to know who we were watching in those old episodes.
Well, you know what? Like, I
think-
mean, there's a lot of smart folks involved with these shows. I imagine we'll get. I don't think anything is left because it was omitted or not considered. I feel as though it'll probably be revisited at some point.
I think
The
it'll
easiest
be most.
answer is the Phoenix. Like Jean
yeah.
never came back from after being the Dark Phoenix.
No, but there's two episodes in the previous season where Jean Grey was kidnapped by Mr. Sinister.
Yeah,
One
like
being the
first season,
Apocalypse
right?
one at the end, and then
Second-
one in the second season.
second
Or
season,
the
Death
fourth
to a
season
Third.
when Sinister's working with Apocalypse, I believe, and then in the second season where Sinister.
Oh, it's probably that second time.
So that was way back when they were in the castle in Ireland or Scotland or whatever, isn't it?
I think it was even before that in the Savage Land. In
Jean
fact,
was
I
never
think
in the
that's when
Savage
I
Land.
think they switched back at some point, and that Jean is
It's a
Madeline.
Russian doll. It's like a
Yeah.
3-card. It's a
Like, they
3-card
switched
Monty
back
game
at
with
one
an
point.
actual people. All right, keep your eye
Yeah,
on the
and
Jean. Keep your eye on the
personally,
over
I
here. It's
think-
over here. She's back over here. She's back here. She's
I
over
think
here.
they'll expand on it at one point when they're going to use it as
That seems needlessly
the
complicated for
relationship.
the average fan.
Well, not maybe that part, but I mean they're going to explain it away, whenever it was, in an episode that explores the relationship between Scott and Jean and how it deteriorates Emma Frost.
Interesting.
Emma Frost show. We're gonna see some Emma. We already got teased the Hellfire Gala, and I can't wait.
Emma's in the intro now.
Was she in the intro?
Oh. Yeah,
They
she's
keep
running with
changing
the
it.
villains.
She's
Different
in
every
the, like,
episode.
Yeah, she's in the run together.
Oh, Christine says there was a point in the original series where the look changes. That would be funny if they go back and notice that and do make that
Yeah.
the change point.
Yeah.
I mean, other than if you're talking about just like when they changed all of the art. In
Did you ever notice how, like, considering Jean just had a kid, regardless of which Jean, how great shape she's in? I mean, I'm not an expert on female physiology, but I'm pretty sure your body doesn't immediately zip back to the way it looked before you were pregnant. I think it takes
some women do.
Okay.
Some women the next day you wouldn't even know they had a baby. Man, it's crazy.
Well, I guess everybody's got good genetics. So
Or herself home from the
all
hospital.
right, we got to get
Like-
through this. We got to get through this
Anyway.
episode at some point.
Yeah.
So, Cyclops, during the fight, they're accosted by a giant. All right, forget Richard. We got to get through this. They're accosted by a giant demonic master mold, which Jean saves them from and kind of stops the illusion, and then passes out because of the what's going on. We do see that they're confronted by Madeline, who I'm going to refer to as that, even though she hasn't gone by that yet, just to keep it easy. The Goblin
That's an
Queen.
interesting chain of events right there, though. He got her genetic material in SSN2, got her memories in Beyond Good and Evil, and did the switch in Phalanx Covenant. Interesting. Interesting. I like all these theories. They're very interesting.
Well, it depends if depends if she's aware that Charles died, right? Because that would be the end of the season.
Christine says the hair is a clue. She's like, it's definitely a clue.
That part was actually referenced before you came on, Christine, but only in terms of that when I was saying I genuinely didn't know which was the one trying to send the baby away with Bishop until the point at which they were like, I call myself Madeline Pryor and I'm taking the heck off.
What
it
a
was at
gut
that
punch.
point the ponytail, yeah.
That is at the end, though. Oh.
Well, they also say she kept trying to get Scott to leave the team, right? So, like, that was possibly part of Sinister's plan as well. So, anyway, Goblin Queen's taking off with the baby. Cyclops tries to stop her. She used her powers to knock them all out and gets away. We see them
like
all
a great consolation prize for Sinister, if he doesn't get Nathan, is having a Jean Grey powered person that he can control. Like, so just having Maddie is a pretty great consolation prize.
Or the objective.
So then we see, after they're recovering from what happened, we see Rogue and Magneto show up together, who have missed everything because they're off training, in quotes, air quotes. And then Cyclops tunes him into what's happened. That Mr. Sinister, made a clone of Jean. Sunspot asks who Sinister is. Morph explains that he was a geneticist from the turn of the century that experimented on himself, made himself into a monster, and then has continued his experiments by cutting apart mutants for centuries, or at least a century and a half, I guess, whatever. And then when Morph says he should know that he does the experiments on mutants, and he turns into the way he used to look when he was evil in season 2, with the dark under his eyes and everything, which is a nice little nod to that. That was that nice version. Although apparently, remember, if you recall correctly, we're talking about ridiculous things from this show. Charles Xavier's ancestor was also around then and trying to stop him.
Yeah. So was Jumpin' Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
Jack the Ripper.
Who was just like
Mr. Sinister.
No, Sinister's
not the heart you wanted.
Sinister was just using him. Remember, and then Sinister's like, "It's cool, Jack. You go do your thing. I'm good."
He was like, "Why yada, Jack? You gotta stop bringing these hats all mangled." He almost got caught this time. He's like,
Jack,
That's right. Dan joined us for that episode.
It's as if that was one of my side points. Yeah, that was my last.
I just like cutting up the hookers.
Yeah. So side
Another
story.
hooker, Jack? Does it have to be a hooker every time? Jack.
Yeah.
Like,
I barely know her.
I need some variety in my genetic material here, Jack.
So Morph thinks he knows where they took Madeline, or they took the baby, because of his connection to Thing. Magneto says,
"This baby."
Not yet. Jesus, Davin. That's not even close to where the end of the episode yet.
That reminds me of my childhood as an asthmatic child. He's got the old mask on.
Mm-hmm.
Many an hour I spent like that, baby. I basically had the techno-organic virus. I know what it's like. You know what? I'm basically Cable.
So
Andre froze second there.
No,
Andre's just disgusted.
I'm just disgusted because Davin just shows clips way out of proportion with where we are in the story. He's just like, here's a picture of the baby with the techno-organic virus. Like 20 minutes before we get to that part. But here it is.
I mean, time travel, right? It's hard
I know everyone's probably seen this episode already. I'd hope you would if you're watching this. But it's like, we're trying to keep a narrative going here. Davin's just like, here's some chaos. Fuck it.
Yeah, that's what I do. I bring the chaos.
So we see Sinister put the baby in a vat of green glowing liquid, which is very reminiscent of Reanimator, but also something else, which I'm going to reference later. And says that he's going to put him through this thing that's going to make him essentially immortal. Is the plan. Using this process, the baby's floating in a tube and being exposed to this stuff. And he says that, he wanted this baby because the genetic uniqueness of his parents and what he's going to do with them, blah, blah, blah. It's still kind of vague.
So Cable's first baby vision is a big blue furry cookie monster in a lab coat then. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
That works. I mean, he would know the cookie monster is.
Cookies?
I thought his first vision would have been Rogue. Him.
They get to the place, which is an old abandoned church, like somewhere in the woods. And then they get in a big fight with the Goblin Queen, who's kind of there to stop them. She's trying to Meanwhile, Wolverine is left back at the mansion with look after Jean.
Almost a nitpick. He's like, you three stay here, and the rest of us will go on a what does he call it? Like a surgical strike.
Yes.
But like
Without
Wolverine
the guy
is the
with the
most
knives.
skilled surgical strikesman, but he's also the one who has all the training. He's the surgical strike guy. Maybe Gambit as well because he's sneaky. But like,
And during Madeline's
Wolverine's
fight with
the surgical strike guy.
first, Magneto attacks her, and she actually bleeds from her mouth, and she smiles, which is a nice disturbing little.
That was
thing.
creepy, man.
And then she like.
And the animation's so good.
It's very, very
mouth
good.
part
Her
was from with Cyclops.
This here, like, yeah, in the church.
Does he bite her there? No.
He bites
No,
her.
like,
No,
Cyclops gets her in the side of the face, and she like.
Oh,
does
that's
the-
right. Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
like-
That might be right.
He makes her bleed. Cyclops.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was. Yeah, no, that's right.
No, Magneto
stops her.
doesn't get anything in on Maddie. She just keeps disappearing.
No, I thought she bleeds. Like I thought 2 people make her bleed. I thought.
No, it's
Anyway,
just
she
it's
takes
just Cyclops.
she takes a couple hits, but yeah, that happens.
He's like, sorry, I
Definitely.
didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
He's like,
So then Jean Grey wakes from her coma or from being passed out and is overwhelmed with all of the everything from her powers because she is having trouble controlling them. Logan gets her to zero in on him, and she can tell how much he feels about her.
she's like, I remember you.
And she says, like, you feel that much. He's like, that much and more. So, like, she gets a vibe for how much he cares for her. But then she immediately thinks of Scott and that he's in danger, which, you know,
It's always the
which makes Wolverine look very sad, which is, you know, oh, shit, I almost had her. And then you see her put her hair in a ponytail, which might be a clue, apparently.
Like they're
So
saying, yeah.
She's got to get into action.
So the whole scene where they're attempting to take Madeline down, I thought was an interesting demonstration of the reverse of what we saw. The greatest highlights of last 2 episodes, which was like, you know, that demonstration of teamwork that they were already building towards for the 5 seasons, or at least 4 of the 5 seasons. And yeah, like every one of the crazy moves that they pulled off in, you know, in flaming
Like when they're all
Wolverine's
falling
claws
and Rogue and
chucking them
Storm
and
just
bouncing and
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas this episode was a bunch of demonstrations of their own individual power. Cyclops virtually powerless. Worst person to bring into that situation. Let's be honest. What was he doing there?
Not
Too
against
much personal
Sinister.
connection.
Oh, against
not
Maddie,
against
yeah.
Sinister and against Maddie. Like, what's your
Against
point?
Maddie.
I guess you
Actually,
couldn't have stopped
no.
if you tried.
Remember before, Cyclops' powers uniquely hurt Sinister when no one else
Sinister,
did.
no. Taking Cyclops in a fight
Yeah,
against
that's
Sinister is always
true.
the right choice.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Stay away from my friends. Remember that? That was amazing from the animated series.
Well,
Yes, 100%.
Or more the point being that, like, you know, even when Magneto's like, I'll try, and then they will try, like they did it in separate junctures rather than with the cohesion they had in the previous 2 episodes.
Yeah,
Magneto's
well, they're
a
all
tank.
separated. Yeah,
But like,
Oh,
what if
Magneto.
Magneto had brought
Yeah.
Wolverine and chucked him with a super friggin' fastball special Magneto style?
but 2 of the greatest things in this episode too are Magneto versus Maddie, because you always think no one can go 1-on-1 against Magneto, and same with, like, you'd think that about Mr. Sinister too. But she basically shows them both that they're in trouble against her. Like, she even says, like, to Sinister, she laughs at him. She's like, you think your power can compare to mine? And, like, she shows, like, Magneto's having all kinds of trouble. Like, he's losing that fight. I mean, he does smash her into a wall. Like, he does throw, like, some big old metal thing at her, and it, like, smashes her into a wall. But she took that like a champ.
Like a champ.
And then starts, like, the glass thing. That was like, oh, man, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, when
Well,
he was making all the glass from the window come at her,
that
it was really cool.
That was so
Yeah.
cool.
So basically, then Jean reaches out with her mind to connect to Madeline, her clone. They relive all the memories they had as kids leading up to their joining the X-Men.
Christine. Agreed, Christine.
Showing all the things that all their memories together, reconnecting and helping her break the control that Sinister has over her. Then now free of that, and Madeline realizing who she is, which is essentially Jean Grey. Her and Scott team up around the rest of the X-Men and then take a full frontal attack on Mr. Sinister, rescuing Nathan and sending Sinister, not seeing this coming, thinking that she was completely under his control, is forced to escape, leaving the baby behind, who they rescue, but then they discover.
Hold on. One sec.
Not seeing it coming, or not seeing
Your
it
powers
coming.
are nothing against mine.
It's over, Sinister.
Is it now? Is it
The voice is so good.
Ladybird, fly away home.
That
I
was
mean,
the
they
plan
obviously
all
do it.
along.
Yeah, and
why
this
does no one ever stop Mr. Sinister from slinking into the shadows? Like, as soon as he starts to slip into shadows, everyone's always just like, where did Mr. Sinister go? It's like, y'all watched him step into the shadows. Like, what are you doing? But
he's gone.
anyway,
He's in the shadows, man. What do you want?
He's gone. He's
Okay,
sinister.
let's settle the score. Let's be clear. He was never in that room to begin with.
Well, it was a clone Sinister.
Come on.
Yeah, it's never the real Sinister. You never see the real Sinister.
That's why
the real Sinister's not going to let himself get shot by Cyclops. Like, that's undignified.
Not since the Savage Lands would he let that sort of malarkey happen.
That kind of
malarkey. That was Sinister?
Yeah, in the Savage Lands?
Yeah.
At least some of them.
Well, listen, at no point in the series have we ever seen Sinister has replaced himself with a clone.
Oh,
that's
true.
Oh, no, but we haven't yet. I'm not saying it's not happened. I'm saying it's not been referenced. So, anyway, they rescue the baby. They discover the baby has this technogenic virus. And the only way to save the baby, because they don't have technology currently available to help it, is to send it to the future.
Bishop now has this episode.
Bishop now has his collar, so he can take it. And Bishop even references he has a friend of the future is good with this sort of stuff, but we all know is Forge.
But who's gonna take care of the baby? So is like Forge now the caretaker of the baby, or is he almost like I'm just gonna give this baby to Forge? So does Forge now the caretaker of the baby?
I think they're gonna do a Messiah Complex style side story with Bishop and Baby Cable, and Bishop's gonna be like.
Do you think Bishop raises Cable instead of like a Scotty?
Well, listen, why wouldn't Cable know who Bishop is when they encounter each other in the time travel malarkey episode from the end of season 3?
Exactly.
So,
well, okay, we got to get into
and
it now,
also, this isn't Cable. This is Strife in the first place. Mic drop. Never was.
Where did Cable? Then where did Cable come from?
Well, Cable comes from another alternate future where it actually worked out with the real Jean and the real Maddie, or this is the baby. The baby is Strife and Cable's the clone. In the comics, Strife thinks he's the real one and that Cable is the clone.
And for a while, they make you think that's true.
And for a while, they make you think that's true. And even making me not think that's true makes me think it's more true because I'm just that suspicious.
Well, the answer is they are both. He is both. Nathan Charles Summers is both Cable and Strife, depending on
where in the timeline there. Okay, so it's like Kang then. There's like 9 different. It's just like there's 9 different people that are Kang, but they're all Kang, just different points in his timeline.
Yeah, and also he's X-Man,
honestly, I was gonna say, and honestly, in some ways, it aligns most with X-Man's origin. Like he was built to become the antithesis of Apocalypse. Maybe it's possible Sinister at this time himself even knows Apocalypse is the antithesis of future. If he is the end game and Sinister sees that as a threat, he's playing the parts right now that he needs to. If I had to guess, he's sending the legacy virus into the future to get a cure to come back into the past to prevent it from wiping out other things. That's what I mean. What did I say? Yeah, but still, that's my theory. Virus. Like when he backs up, he's like, "Oh, you did it, you got me." I mean, this was his plan. His whole plan worked out. He wanted an infected kid to go into the future to come back with the cure.
Yeah. Oh, Sinister did not lose this episode.
Sinister didn't lose nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Like that was too unceremonious for Sinister. You think that was the Sinister episode? That was not the Sinister episode. Like,
that was a Sinister prelude.
Oh yeah.
So then we discover he has to go to the future. Scott obviously doesn't want to do the abandon his baby like his father abandoned him, but he's forced to do it because the only way to save his life is for this to happen. So we have a nice moment where Jean or Madeline telepathically links with the baby and tells him how much he cares for it and all this sort of stuff. And then the baby's forced to go off in the future with Kate or with Bishop. Then Jean and Madeline.
Christine, you got to join the comments more often. You're full of good points. This reminds me of Andre. Look, you made a good point that reminded me of Deanna.
Does every single comment need to be brought up and interrupted when
they're good? Yes,
but every single one from this episode has been addressed.
Well, this is a good comment section.
Okay, great. I'm not saying that.
This is reminding me of Deanna Troi. We're talking Star Trek.
Yeah, that's relevant.
It
Trek
was
is always
relevant. It was relevant scenes ago when it would be like, how did she overcome the Goblin Queen with virtually the same power since they're literal clones of each other? Her control over her empathic powers was likely that which gave her the edge because she was like, "Oh, I'm consuming you. We're one." You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think that might. I think that might be what she was getting at.
Yeah, no, I get it. And she just said how great it was that Christopher Britton is back, which is also great. His voice is fantastic in this.
We were expecting a special guest tonight, but our special guest is in the middle of a blackout.
Oh,
Not special enough.
No,
I'm just a normal guest. I was voted
2 tiers of
most
guests. Look, I'll
special
even show you.
guests.
Look
Oh,
at
yeah,
this. Look
that's
at this.
true.
Look at this.
do you have tears? Are you
And
telling them other
guest
tears?
X-Man Dan with special guest George Booza. You see how there's a difference there?
But
I
the
tears. I rank human beings.
Special guest seems like it's higher than guest, and guest is way more bigger of a title marquee than special guest.
Yeah. Has George Booza held your child? Actually, Andre probably hasn't held your child.
No, Andre
No,
hasn't either.
I've met Davin in real life twice.
Twice
Yeah.
for like 5 seconds.
Yes, the first time
He
actually
was
it was
like,
a whole
5
day.
seconds is enough for me.
No,
Does your eldest call him Uncle George?
that would be nice. Uncle,
My eldest ran up to Uncle Dan and gave him 2 big hugs, and she doesn't do that to anybody.
I think Uncle
Apparently
Andre
not.
does have a nice ring to it, though.
It does.
It
yeah.
does.
Uncle
I like-
Nathandre Summers.
Nathandre.
Back to where you left off. That portal, though.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That was a cool looking portal, triangular
Yeah,
and shit.
it was all like
And-
ripped away and stuff.
Any
And, you
chance
know-
it isn't Forge? I've heard another name speculated I'm not familiar with, but who's this other name that it wouldn't be in the future? Of course it's Forge, right? In the
Yeah,
future?
Karima.
Of course it's Forge.
The Forge isn't sent back in time. The Forge you know in the future is Old Forge.
Yeah, he's Old Forge. Yeah.
But we've met the normal modern Forge in the X Factor episodes. He's running X Factor and in the Phalanx episodes.
Yeah, it was 2.
But so anyway, we see the Jeans say goodbye to each other. One says, "Oh, call me Madeline Pryor. I'm gonna go off and have my own adventures," because she was wanting to get away from the X-Men. That was the drive. So now she can because there's nothing keeping her there. We then cut to Scott sitting alone in his broken room, and then Jean comes in and they face each other because they got a lot to talk about. Obviously, he's been having sex with somebody else for a while now. This has been his wife that he thought was her. I mean, he literally
the twin thing.
He literally has the perfect excuse that there's no way he couldn't have known it wasn't her.
I like how you say they got a lot
It was
to
the
talk
same
about.
anyway. It's not like he would thought like he had the excitement of an illicit affair. He thought he was just.
Oh
having
no,
sex
yeah,
with
it's
his
true.
wife.
It wasn't. Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
the
Who he
exact
loved
same
and was
name.
happy to do so with. But,
Yeah,
Exactly.
all the shame with none of the fun.
Yeah,
And all
it's
the-
like-
Later, he's just like,
yeah.
what?
yeah, and then with all they have to talk about, they can't say a word to each other.
Yeah, well, you know,
He's
it's a
like,
lot-
yes, tangentially, Scott, you were having sex with Mr. Sinister.
I'm oddly okay with that. I like the
Yeah.
danger.
I thought
So
it
we
was
s-
naughty.
We see Rogue, who's hanging out in a bar in the south, who's approached by a man who we
Storm.
recognize as Forge. What I say,
Mhm.
Rogue, Storm, who he approached by a man who he recognizes as Forge, saying that he knows that she's lost her powers and he wants to help her get them back.
But I wouldn't give if someone could just make it rain.
And,
She is just like, I will kill you if I don't like the next thing you say to me. Like Storm is so good in this series.
She doesn't have powers. She also
Doesn't
scared.
need them.
She's also
Doesn't
scared of the
need them.
closet. I'm kidding.
Of all the X-Men, even including Wolverine, she does not need her powers.
Put her
She
in a
is
closet.
fine.
You win.
Yeah, but you got to get her in that closet.
Good point. If you have any kind of mental abilities, you can probably make her think she's in a closet.
Yeah, and if she had no powers and Apocalypse showed up, she'd be screwed too. But I'm just saying she's very capable.
She'd be less screwed than you or I, is the point.
What if Archon shows up and he wants her to marry him again?
Oh, we're not talking about Archon.
Well, I mean,
That
she
is
was
in the
almost
past.
married to Archon. It was a 2-part episode,
No, she
sir.
didn't.
That was
No,
a
she
big part
didn't.
of the X-Men universe.
She
right.
was under the possession of the Shadow King
End of
at the
episode.
time.
That was
Always
that was
blame
not,
it
that
on
was
the
not
shadow.
Take
stated.
care, Jean. Call me Madeline Pryor. Farewell, Madeline. Farewell.
See, there's no like. That's why I don't think it's like a Vandal Industries thing. She's just like farewell, Madeline. Like,
yeah, it's just like I call myself Madeline Pryor. She's like, cool.
I like the name Pryor because it's like you came before.
Yeah, I like that too. She's saying she's the
or maybe just Gene is a big fan of Richard Pryor. That's possible. Spelled the same way.
Who isn't really? I mean, blacksmith is who he said he heard. Okay, so that's okay. I've heard that before. So I think blacksmith is just what they call Forge. Like everyone in that future, in most X-Men futures, have code names even beyond their X-Men code names, so that the Sentinels and other people don't find them. And I think blacksmith, the blacksmith, is what they call Forge. Now I could be wrong about that, but I think that's what's going on there.
I've heard no such thing.
No, Archon isn't funny, MZ. We're not talking about Archon. Yeah, so yeah, that is the end of the episode. So I guess that brings us to
Take care.
What?
Jean. Call me Madeline Pryor.
I didn't even press that, but
Farewell,
let's listen to that
Madeline.
again.
Oh,
Farewell.
It's bringing me back to Davin not knowing what buttons do what, and then random quotes coming into this episode throughout the episode.
Good times, weren't they? On
Good times. They were. You
Great
just
times.
randomly talking, and just a quote from that we already addressed 25 minutes ago.
man.
It comes back, and then
During
the same
worst
one
of that,
keeps
like-
coming back over and over again. What was the one that
During
kept
the
coming
worst
back?
of it. Oh, what was it?
It was.
Wasn't
It was
like
and then
Gyrick or something. It was
you
like-
even
or
took
was
it
Gambit?
out of-
No, it was Gambit.
Yeah, you took it out of it, and it still kept coming back.
It's for months it kept coming back, and I could not
It's
explain.
like it was like the Deus Ex Machina, the Ghost of the Machine.
Do we do X points first or X ratings?
X ratings.
Each of us will have to look into his own heart and decide.
Oh, we got to decide. Decide, Dan. Decide. Well,
Decide,
actually,
Dan.
first,
One.
Dan, what would you give out of 10 episodes 1 and 2?
Wouldn't it be great? And I'm sorry to interrupt you. If all of a sudden Dan's just here on this podcast, and then you just see like a hand pass him like a
Newborn child.
like a newborn baby,
Except for like developed and with no umbilical cord and just
Yeah.
doing fine.
and it just
maybe
got
with some
green
bits on it.
technovirus all over it. Like
this even
somehow,
baby
while Dan,
holds her own
while Dan was
green
doing this podcast, his wife gave birth in the other room.
Yeah. That's how committed I am.
Well,
let's
we
see.
appreciate your
So-
dedication, sir.
So is it the 2 episodes prior as one rating
Which
or
got-
one each?
No, 2. They each got 10s for me and Andre. They were pretty perfect.
Are you asking him to retrograde the previous
I am.
episodes he
Yeah,
was on?
retroactively.
Are you going to include this in the rankings? This is unheard of, sir.
We don't have a chart for this.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Uncharted territory?
Oh, it's just the
That's what
movies
that
we had the
means.
chart for?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I only have
Speaking
charts
of
if
which-
I ask Cousin Dave to make me a chart.
This was supposed to be this episode had the best representation for one of the movies I was supposed to have been party to, which
It's
is
still happening. We're getting there.
is it? Well, then I don't want to do spoilers. First 2 episodes, they weren't 10s for me. I'll have to go with solid
Oh,
9s.
wow.
Wow. You were hard to please, sir.
Oh,
I,
man,
I'm,
that's hard to please.
look, and I don't put things. I don't sugarcoat things, and I also don't suck Cyclops butt the same way.
That was pretty great in this
Cyclops,
episode
they're
too.
just gonna
Actually,
put that
One of the
way out
best
there, yeah.
characters ever.
That first episode was some of the best Cyclops I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's not even the
Proper
real
thing.
Cyclops. Just like it's not
It's
even the
fixing
real
the
Wolverine.
mistakes Fox made, which is what David Cutler told us when he was on the show there the other day.
Yeah, I heard.
He fixed 20 years of Fox mistakes with Cyclops in like
David, is
20
it David?
seconds.
David Cutler said he's like my rival now because I got voted most liked guest.
He wasn't happy about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and
may
to
have-
be
you may
frank, can you fix this in post? He deserved it. Cut that out later.
Well, he can draw a lot better than you, Dan.
But
a lot.
well,
better.
you have never even seen me draw, just
He
because
can
I'm not
draw a
employed
lot
by
better
Marvel
than you.
Comics.
Dave Cutler's on a roll. He's been drawing like my favorite version of every X-Men character lately. I can't even. believe
Okay,
it.
that's
He's on
valid.
Davin's or Dan. Speaking of Final Fantasy, as you mentioned when you're talking about JRPGs earlier, did you know that the voice of Cyclops, Ray Chase, was in Final Fantasy 15?
I did not.
15 Final Fantasies.
There's
now?
more than that, but the
Holy
15 came out in
shit.
2016. He did the voice of Noctis. Noctis.
I'll be honest. I haven't finished a Final Fantasy.
Jesus.
Remember
10-2.
Final Fantasy 3?
He's also in Borderlands 3.
Really? That's cool.
In One
Is that
Punch
like
Man.
Final Fantasy 3?
Seen One Punch Man.
I've seen some of One Punch
Who
Man.
was he?
Oh, I did not know this. This is lovely. So there's a horror movie that I really, really love called *Malignant* that came out in 2021 by
I think I saw that.
Malignant?
James Wan. I don't reveal the big twist because it's awesome if you watch the movie and not know. But if it's a low budget James Wan one he did during COVID, where the girl had the twin.
So there were no people in it. It was just him in an empty house.
No. But it was just like a low budget version. But anyway, he did the voice of Gabriel, the twin, later on. But anyway.
Oh, this Cyclops voice actor is really good.
He's really, really good.
Oh, yeah.
So is I mean, Watterson. The new
all right, so X-Men, Dan, what are you giving this one?
I was going to say, and my dislike for Cyclops has nothing to do with my dislike for Cyclops the actor. I think Cyclops is supposed to be a caricature of a thing. He's supposed to represent a thing, and you like him for the growth that he's gone away from that thing, and that's fine too. But he's a caricature.
Yeah, but to you, he's this immovable object. But do you Do you grant that to all the other characters? Is Wolverine an immovable object and capable of growth?
Well, the difference between Wolverine and Cyclops is Wolverine acknowledges his struggle, and although he has difficulty moving on, there's a reason. It pains him the things that he's done. Where
but
does
he's
Cyclops
grown as a
shed tears
character?
for Professor X?
Has that been a
when
good
did Cyclops? I mean, some of the time. Not when he drowned.
Same
his
as
own
with
son,
Cyclops.
but-
No character should be like this caricature from the '60s. And like
I know this is anyway. This is not this. This is not
No,
that
we're
great.
settling. We're hashing this out, Dan.
Duke
it out.
Duke it out.
That's what I think. That's what I
we
think.
just
this
did,
series-
and Dan beat me with Doctor Doom at the very end. We just did Duke it.
Oh man, yeah,
we came
that's
down to
HeroClix stuff.
Doctor Doom and this Silver Surfer, and
Classic ending. For this episode, I give it 8, and it's not. I am a hard marker, and 8 and 9 are really high scores. 9
They're
and
really high
like
scores.
the 9s for the 2 first episodes are almost exclusively because of my nostalgic joy back into it. Will I still have thought about it as a 9 a year from now? I don't know.
probably a 10.
because
They
it
were
was
so
amazing.
exciting. Those first 2 episodes were so exciting.
All right, I'm giving it a 9. I loved it, but I don't think it's as good as those first 2 episodes.
Yeah. See, we're on the same
9.
scale.
Yeah.
9.
They're
You're
trying
9
to
too?
shoehorn a lot into.
Well, I was coming into this episode thinking I was gonna say I'm gonna give it a 10, but I didn't like it as much as the last 2 episodes.
Then
But
it
I
should
don't
be a
know.
9.
Then it should be a 9.
Yeah.
But it was good enough to be.
It was very. It's very good.
It was
It's
so
very
good.
good.
Too.
But
But
you
it
have
just-
to. You can't just say. You can't use the old series as a measuring stick. You got to you have
No,
to
I'm
say.
not.
Okay, because even if you use the old series as a measuring stick, every episode of this show, regardless of how good, it'd probably be a 10.
I don't agree with that. Like the old series had 10.
Yeah, it did, but for the most part,
Last episode
didn't
I
have
was on
many.
was not a 10.
No,
I was on for, like,
Beauty
that
and
was
the
like a-
Beast, Days
a
of Future
5 or a
Past,
6,
some
I think.
others. There were some 10s out there though.
Yep. All right. Nine's fantastic. It's a great episode.
Nine's a
But
valiant effort.
here's the only thing I would say with that. Here's why I was gonna give it a 10. I'm like, is it just
because you want to give
does it
every
just
episode of
seem
the
like
season
a
a
bit
10?
of a letdown because it's a different kind of episode than those previous?
No.
two?
I
Those
love.
previous
I
two episodes were
love
so
aspects.
exciting.
I
It had
love
such
the
big
horror
epic
elements in
moments
this.
with like Magneto spinning the big coin behind him with and like his big speech and everything. They just had these big epic moments, whereas this one was more of like a personal.
I love the
story.
horror movie elements of this episode,
Yeah.
but it just didn't hit as hard as the last one did.
Yeah,
To be honest,
it didn't hit
the
as hard, but
epic,
it's like, is that because of the kind of episode?
No.
it was?
I mean, there's a lot of emotional resonance in this episode that could have,
Oh, a lot.
like giving up the baby and all that stuff. That was all really good.
It's depressing.
Yeah, there was
That's gonna
also
hit you
like,
harder in a couple weeks, Dan.
well, obviously it hit me pretty hard earlier this time. There were a couple different kinds of tiers I've been put on throughout this episode. Apparently, the guest rating tier and tears watching little Christopher go through that gate,
Oh,
or not
man,
Christopher.
that was
Nathan.
hard. And then she's giving him the mental memories of they're not even memories, but just feelings that his parents love him. Like it's just like, oh my god, I'm gonna cry just thinking about it.
There were a lot of
I'm
big-
changing it 10 out of 10. It's a different kind of episode.
That's the thing.
But
Like it doesn't like all those things didn't land. That scene landed. Not everything else landed.
Those-
The bond
but
between the
that
two,
scene
how
landed
they
so hard.
argued.
Devin, the mere
That's
fact
like,
about
that's
the,
like weighing the whole episode 2 off of Magneto's
one moment.
speech.
Yeah.
Magneto's speech was a 10 out of 10. The episode wasn't a 10 out of 10 just because of his speech. And like, to be honest,
That
at the end of
episode
the day,
was great.
Devin, you said you had 2 gripes with this episode, which you did not have any gripes with the previous 2. So, like, if you have
I
gripes,
did actually.
Well, then factually, it can't be a 10 out of 10.
Exactly.
If it had gripes even. My
Yeah,
biggest
one
gripes
gripe.
for me, they were heavy, they were resounding, and it was that they were bringing too much into the fold all at once. Like, why have Ileana there if it's not a reference to anything? Why make it
Well,
so
it
blatantly?
was just a cool reference.
Well,
Oh, yeah,
Morph's a
why-
cameo machine.
Why make it so blatantly limbo when it wasn't? And the tie-ins to what Inferno was and what this wasn't, were like the disparity between what Inferno
I think it's their
was and
attempt to
It
try
was
to.
not very
too great.
Inferno.
It was their attempt to try to
I
appease the fans.
I know they
the
didn't have
comic
time
fans.
to put the, but it's also their attempt to set up Messiah.
But Inferno
Complex,
was
this sort of
demons from a
storyline.
demon
It's their
realm.
attempt to do Shattershot as well in another sense. Like, it's so many little fragments of great stories that I love,
Yeah.
and now feel like will never get expanded on because of this episode.
No, maybe not. But it's also like you have to understand they only have 10-episode seasons. There's a lot of X-Men stuff to go through. So, maybe. But I see what you're saying.
Gives this one a 10 out of 10. He gave 9 out of 10 on the first one because of the Xavier confusion. What's the Xavier confusion?
When Morph comes in the room.
Oh, if he's dead or not. Yeah, see that I agree. That was a nitpick for me. No, 10 out of 10 for this episode. That was a big nitpick.
Okay, so we've established Davin I'm just going to pick 10 if there's stuff in it he likes, regardless.
Well, it's like a detractor from a previous episode.
Why didn't you make them a 9 before
10.
either?
What?
Why didn't you make that one a 9 in the first episode?
I think you can have a nitpick and still have a 10 out of 10. Everything's going to have a nitpick. Like, those first 2 episodes were perfection to me, and I can still nitpick things if I really want to. Like
All right.
that.
Well, I love this
Them all
episode, but
pretending
9 out of 10.
Xavier's dead, even though they all know he's not dead.
90% is incredibly high, so that's fine.
Yeah, it's good. It's still good. It's
So
respectable.
it doesn't mean you don't like the episode or you don't like the show, Davin. It just means that maybe
Yeah.
there's one other thing that didn't hit with you as well as could hit with someone else.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't make great grades
in a
school,
different
so an
way,
80
but
seems good
like
to me.
Like Dan just said, the great thing about the second episode was that big Magneto speech at the end, and that was a 10 out of 10. But for me, in a different way, the ending of this episode was the same thing. Like, I cried, man. Like, that was some emotional shit. That was. So agreed. Winnie the Pooh.
Okay.
And
That's
says,
great.
Losing it. He's losing it. No.
So
That is
yeah,
really
I mean the choice to just call herself the Goblin Queen out of the blue with nothing to back that up, the fact that Morph just happens to know where he lives, and like that Mr. Sinister didn't decide to change locations at all, knowing that Morph knows where he is, and that may imply
You
that
sound
this
choppy. Do you hear that chop, Dan? Or is
What are you
Andre
talking about?
good?
Maybe you're hearing it wrong. It's sounding fine.
Oh,
to
I
me.
think it's me. My screen just went up. All right, continue. Apparently, my internet's getting.
You know how Davin immediately goes to blame everyone else whenever there's a problem with anything?
No, but you still sound wonky to me.
Because your fucking computer's messed up. It's not me, it's you.
All right, I'll be right back. We'll see if it's me. You guys continue.
Anyway. Yeah, no, it's a great episode. But like I said, there's just facts of that are enough to make me think, well, 9. You know, same with you for an 8.
There's great and there's flawless.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, like that, the issues that Davin had with the other ones didn't, and that's it. It's like we all have to pick our own, or we all have to pick our own reason as to why we choose those things. They're unique to each of us. So the things that bothered him so much before that he sort of nitpicked didn't bother me at all. So I would give it a 10. But anyway, all right. So Davin's a 10, I'm a 9, and X-Men Dan's an 8. We're staggering down the line. What we need is 7 more people on this show that give it the next one down until we get right down to 0. Is 0 an option, or does it have to go to 1?
Yeah.
Can you, no, we do say 1 to X. So it's got to be at least a 1. You know, it is utter garbage.
Someone with 0 on it.
Did we pick 1s before? I'm pretty sure I gave the Christmas episode a really low one.
Must be my computer. I can't hear anything either of you guys are saying anymore.
Oh, no.
Well, let's move on. It's time for some Uncanny X points.
So can you not hear us?
Oh, now you sound great.
Okay. You can hear us now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, it's going to be pretty tough to do this if you can't hear us.
Yeah, no, now it's good.
All right.
It was rough there for a minute. So my first X point, I'll start, shall I?
So we have 3 each, or one of us is 4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Since it's an average score.
Ladybird. The Ladybird thing is a nursery rhyme
Oh, the song, right?
An old English language nursery rhyme from like who knows, like.
Well, actually, that makes sense because
First published in
Sinister's
1744.
Sinister's an old English gentleman, so
Yeah,
that makes perfect
exactly.
sense.
So it's interesting, but it's also like the most twisted nursery rhyme ever.
They all are, if you really know the origins of most of them.
Oh,
same with fairy
most
tales.
of them. But ladybird, ladybird, fly away home. Your house is on fire and your children are gone. He changes it to your child is gone. But the last two lines are all except one, and her name is Anne, and she hid under the baking pan. Because it's about bugs. Ladybirds are a kind of bug, and it's about people like burning their nests, I think. But like apparently there's a shorter, more grim version of this rhyme, which is just ladybird, ladybird, fly away home. Your house is on fire. Your children shall burn, and that's the end of the rhyme. But like it.
Wow.
It pretty much this nursery rhyme pretty much encapsulates this episode, at least from Sinister's perspective. Like Inferno is happening at the X mansion, and the house is on fire, and the child is gone because he kidnapped it. But yeah, so it's pretty interesting. I like those really tight analogies and what's the word I'm looking for? Allegories. Yeah.
That's very interesting. That poem goes the way it goes, where it says she hid under the baking pan. Because if you're familiar, Davin, with the Halifax explosion, which is a very famous part of our history in Nova Scotia, one of the few survivors of that explosion was a woman that was called Dishpan Annie, because she was blown from the explosion into, like, she was in a dishpan underneath a stove or something, which is why she survived the explosion as a baby. So it's just like kind of reminded me of that, which is funny.
Wow. That's the second part of our heritage reference so far.
There you go. All right. My first X point is the name of the bar that Storm is in. Did you notice it? It's called Tequila Mockingbird, which is funny. As a trivia host, many a trivia team that comes to play uses that as a trivia name. So
Tequila Mockingbird?
Many times.
Really?
Yeah. Many times, because people just
people
just Google funny trivia names and then pick one, and that's usually in the list. So.
Okay. Funny.
Well, I kind of used up some of my X points throughout, one of which would have been strife, and one of which would have been kind of covering what you can always
elaborate as well.
Well, sort of like elaborating on your point that you said. So with that poem reference, your child is gone. Again, fully believing, because I'm super paranoid, I guess, that whole thing was expounding on the fact that that wasn't Cable. That wasn't their son. That was the clone that they took anyway. There had always been two. That was always the plan. How could you think
there's two babies?
Absolutely. I think there's two babies.
Well, that's interesting.
That's how that worked. But can I throw out a quick X point that was overlooked from episodes 1 and 2? That I
for your next X point, since you used them all.
I'll use that one. I'll use that one for my next one.
Yeah.
Moving on.
All right. So my next X point is Beast. Beware the Jabberwocks, my boy. So
that's from Alice in Wonderland.
No, it's not.
Or Alice Through Looking Glass. Sorry.
Yes, exactly. It's from.
Okay, Davin says it like I'm a complete moron. It's from the sequel, you idiot. Okay, sorry.
You're a fool, Andre.
It's also a Terry Gilliam
embarrassment to the podcast.
It's also a Terry Gilliam movie. Jabberwocky.
Yeah, the Jabberwocky and a breakdancing group.
It's considered a nonsense poem, but it's really fun.
But yeah, because he was just doing it to like mock pretentious poets and poet critics and shit like that. But yeah, it's from the Jabberwocky, which is a poem by Lewis Carroll, but it was included in the 1871 novel Through the Looking Glass, which is a sequel, of course, to Alice in Wonderland. But there is some. I won't do the whole thing because we're running late here. But the rest of that verse is. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jub bird and shun the frumious Bandersnatch.
Mm-hmm. That old Bandersnatch.
The old Bandersnatch.
It's an episode of Black Mirror is named that because of that poem. Yeah. Also, a character from Resident Evil Code Veronica is called the Bandersnatch.
That game I have played.
On the
That's a good
Dreamcast.
game.
It's when it came
No,
when it first
PlayStation
came out on the
2, I think.
Dreamcast.
PlayStation 1 or 2.
My next point is the homages to a lot of the horror stuff are all John Carpenter movies.
All of them? Not Poltergeist.
No, but there are many ones. There are many. The green goo is reminiscent of the Prince of Darkness, which is a personal favorite of mine. The Thing is obviously some
Thing
of the,
for sure.
the merging beings into one thing with all the goopy stuff. The soundtrack of this episode is very reminiscent of 80s horror, and especially the scores of when it gets into the horror part, it has a synth soundtrack, which is very John Carpenter. There are a few other elements too.
Horror.
Yeah. The people on the TV. The people on the TV, the girl on the TV had the blonde haircut like the kids in the Village of the Damned remake you did. There are a few nods to it. I don't know how much is intentional or how much is just, trying to do a reminiscent 80s, 90s horror throwback and getting a lot of Carpenter references, but it's very Carpenter-esque. There's some stuff that reminded me of In the Mouth of Madness as well, which I really love. So
That's definitely a good one.
You get a for us, Dan?
Yeah, my second one was kind of before because it kind of follows off of that point, and it is a prelude to my hopefully upcoming episode. This was not only reminiscent of the movie New Mutants, which in itself was a sort of psychological horror thriller that when it unfolded, there was a lot of who's doing what and why and how is this power manifesting.
Also Sinister.
Power. Also, Sinister was involved. Also, we get if you assume that it is Cable and not Strife.
I don't assume anything in that regard.
Well, if you could presume, there would at least be 3 members, solid members of New Mutants turned X-Force, because Roberto and Ileana, I know, just like a reference, but those 2 are like founding members of that crew.
Oh yeah.
And so I kind of wouldn't mind seeing that sort of arc.
Yeah.
Take
Lots
off.
of New
That was
Mutants
my
love
point.
here. I would love to see spin-off teams start happening, like your X-Forces, your New Mutants, whatever.
No, I think we'll get X Factor
We've seen
back
it
at some
already.
point.
We've seen X Factor.
Yeah, I'd like to see them come
Love
back.
X Factor. Do you think
especially with
Havoc
Val
will marry
Cooper
Goblin
running
Queen?
around.
It'd be nice to hear a lot of them say
No.
something because none of them have.
Yeah.
I'd love some multiple man. I'd love mini series
Oh
of
yeah,
multiple
definitely
man's
some
detective
multiple man.
agency.
All right, my next X point. Forge sounds like Josh Brolin. New Forge sounds exactly like Josh Brolin. Simple X point.
Yeah.
Like before, he was sort of that like stereotypical native voice you'd hear back in the '90s and stuff like that. But like now, he just sounds like Josh Brolin.
Another reason why this episode does not deserve a 10 is my next X Factor. Sun
X
at
point.
the end, or my next X point. At the end of the previous episode, when Jean shows up and says she needs the X-Men, Sunspot is not there. He's not at the mansion. He wasn't shown
But
there.
that's the last episode. That's the
I know.
fault of the last episode.
So at some point between when she collapsed in the doorway and B started doing tests on her right away, Sunspot showed up and they're like, "Hey, come in, hang out, watch a movie. Would you believe?"
I feel like there was a day.
That's
there was
not
a whole day.
That's not him. He was there.
He was not there.
No.
He was not in the mansion in that episode. He was not in episode 3 or 2.
But I do think it was at
He
least
left.
a day from because he left in the evening, and then she came in the night.
He
and
left
then
her card.
Well, yeah, but it was like sunset, and he was like, "Page me," you know.
Yeah,
I guess.
and then he came back the next day.
Yeah, she
Right.
paged him.
She paged him.
She's like, some
He's
shit's
like,
going
yo,
on here. We definitely
totally
need a
paged.
teenager who has no experience to come join us.
Because Jubilee has enough confidence to page.
No,
the
it
next
doesn't make
morning.
sense.
She
It's just
doesn't
'cause
have
they
to
want
do
him
that.
there.
I'm gonna wait 2 days to be cool.
They wanted him there
No,
because-
Jubilee is confident.
That's nobody's talking about that. What the fuck are you talking about? Just like
Jubilee's
The
a strong,
extras,
it makes no
confident-
sense.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have been there. The reason they needed him there was narratively so they could explain who Mr. Sinister was to somebody else. That's the only reason they needed him there. So they just dropped him in like he was there the whole time, which he wasn't.
Was Bishop ever involved with it? Why didn't they just
Yeah,
tell
they
him?
could have explained that to Bishop.
He's been around for a little while.
But was he ever in any of the storylines that had
No,
Mr.
no.
Yeah,
Sinister.
yes.
He was only ever in his own storyline.
Wasn't he
Well,
involved in
because he lost in time and the whole
Beyond
Wonder
Good and Evil.
Apocalypse
The
was there. He was
Beyond
like-
Good and Evil episode Sinister's Range was in.
But he wasn't even like he just seen him. He was like, who's that? Because he popped
He
out of
slunk
time
off into the shadows and they never saw him again.
Which also explained Kang. Had Kang in it too, which is
Actually in that episode it's even more hilarious. Sinister just sort of like runs away, like comically. They're all just like, "Hey,
Skeletor
Sinister's
from a
getting
meme.
away," and then they just like let him get away. It's
Next
pretty
time.
funny.
It'd be nice to see some of his Beastie Boys show back up.
Oh, the Nasty Boys, yeah.
Beastie Boys. I got it mixed up. Whatever, the Beastie Boys. Intergalactic Planetary.
Hey, they showed up on Futurama.
That's true.
Um,
As heads.
anyway, as heads.
But yeah, all right. Next X point.
So my last X point was the throwback from the last episode's X point. There was a brief moment when they're playing basketball and Gambit was like, "Oh, what? You don't think about my other power?" So because they're like, "No, using your powers." He's like, "What about my other power, Cher?" And he has his shirt off, and it's like to imply that it's just his sexual
power.
energy. But he actually has subtle telekinetic charm powers. Like that's a fact. That's one of his powers. He has this low level mind control that he can like charm ladies. So when he actually says that in the scene, like, "Oh, what about my other powers, baby?" He's like, "That's real. That's a lit power." He's just like,
I didn't
use
pick
this
up
one?"
on that.
So,
But he does.
I
He
don't
has
know.
charm powers.
It's just
Makes
like
him a
I
better
only
thief.
represented in clicks on his like very last thing. A little bit of mind control, maybe a little bit of mind control.
Hero Clicks can teach you
A little bit.
Everyone should play it, and they should sponsor us. But
Are you Acadian, Andre? My
Yeah.
ex Acadian.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm Acadian. Yeah, my last name is Acadian also.
Oh, do you want to reveal it on the show or?
Vive l'Acadie, my brother.
Muse de
I
la
know,
D'Entremont.
What you think they're doing up there?
Oh,
Getting expelled.
expelled. Expelled. Yeah, I did a DNA test a while ago, and it's not as much as I thought it would be considered my name, but yes, like 12% or something was French. My dad's from a French Acadian settlement in Nova Scotia. So.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, good
All
episode.
right, is that your last one, Devin? We'll make 4. We'll make us
my
10.
last point was just gonna be have us speculate basically on is that Cable? Like who is it? Let's throw our bets down.
We
now.
already
Is
went
it
down
Stripe?
that road.
Is it
Or we could just
X-Men?
wait
Or
a
is
few
it
weeks
Cable?
and then have it revealed.
No, we're speculating.
Okay. So it's either Cable or Strife. Is that it?
Cable we know is
Or Nate Gray.
Nathan Christopher Summers or Nathan Christopher Ascani son.
Okay.
Like,
no.
we don't
No. The Cable we know from the comic books is that Cable.
Yeah.
This is another thing. That
Yes,
Cable
it
could be
is.
the same Cable.
But these are also deliberate choices, Andre. They could have
Not
just
always.
called him Nathan Christopher Summers.
Sometimes
but they call him
magic just shows up
Nathan
because they want her to
Charles
make a
Summers
cameo.
to
So
confuse
not
people
always.
and make it a mystery.
Well,
no.
so Andre, to
Yes, they did.
his point, I don't often jump in Davin's corner, but even
No
even
one
in the
does,
show,
No one does.
even in the show, Christopher is his son's name, if I'm not mistaken. Is a
It is in the future.
so like there'll be the reference.
No, it was Tyler. Tyler's his son's name.
Tyler's his son.
Is Christopher's son in like the comics?
No, it's always Tyler.
Who am I thinking his son is Christopher?
Christopher is Corsair.
Oh, that's right, because it's his dad's middle name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So,
that's like
no-
such shade at Corsair. In the comics, he gets the middle name, and here there's like, you know what? Fuck Corsair. Nathan Charles
totally
Summers.
get the middle name. Let's rename this issue Daddy Issues.
Man, my
Yeah,
space
seriously.
pirate father doesn't fit into this.
I will not abandon my son. I will so not abandon my son. I will abandon conversation about abandoning my son.
Goodbye.
Fair, Cyclops. He pushed you out of a plane to save your life, but he didn't come back for 30 years, so there's that.
No, he got a new space family. He's happy.
He has a cat lady. He doesn't
Yeah,
have
he's got
time
a
for
cat lady
kids.
now. It's wild cat sex. Probably pretty fun.
It would be kind of funny to see like Peter
Also-
Quill and like Scott Summers having a beer.
Well, no, they actually in those episodes they say that his dad didn't think he survived.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
he thought
But,
they were
like,
all
why
dead. and he
push
was
him
like,
out of the plane if you think he was gonna die? Like, wasn't the whole point he was pushing him out of the plane to save him?
staying in the plane? He definitely would have died. So What are the two options?
I guess, but you try to check.
They
up
still
on
never
it.
established that Cyclops is a brother and that it's Havoc in the series.
That's
so.
gotta happen in this series, but we'll see. I guess
They do though, because he talks about the two.
Hey, check this out.
They show that he had a brother during the plane thing, but they never
Yeah.
have stated in the show that it's Havoc or that.
they don't recognize each other.
Yeah.
Hey, check this out. This is our comic reminiscences and recommendations segment. Why don't you go first, X-Man Dan?
Yeah, I have a pretty disparate couple of things, which is appropriate because of what it is. Got the one of the other issues, but the Inferno collection, of course, was going to be featured, but the Daredevil spots from the Inferno collection actually. So Daredevil 262 to 265, I believe,
I got that.
have some crazy fun interaction with the world, because in the Inferno in the comics it involves everybody, not just the X-Men, and it's a long affair.
John Romita Jr. Check it out.
Yeah, and some of it has to do with I think visually, like people are hallucinating that things exist, and then they manifest them by their fears during Inferno, but because he's blind, he's not able to manifest the monstrosities, so he can fight them with clarity and never really gets affected by the illusion.
It's funny. I think we're all going to pick it because mine's going to be the Spider-Man crossovers from the Inferno.
That's
where
fine.
they
Inferno was huge.
Where Jason Macendale became like a demonic being instead of just a guy wearing a mask, and then later on he split into Demo Goblin and Hobgoblin as separate.
I remember that.
Demo Goblin.
Goblin was his demon side that split away from him during the regular Spider-Man series later.
And it's like a sub theme throughout all the comics, because I have like a standalone one with Croc and the not Croc, sorry, the Lizard.
The Lizard,
in the university campus, and he's fighting him, trying to like get him to rationalize. But then, and
Spider-Man goes to hell and fights a bunch of demons and stuff. So.
That's awesome.
Obviously, I picked the Uncanny X-Men Inferno issues, but also the first one. This is the one that ignites it all. Sinister ignites Inferno, and there's Maddie there. And then, then it gets crazy. Check it out. The Inferno storyline. You gotta love it. But Dan's right. Check out the Daredevil stuff, too. Daredevil's the most consistent title in comics. Like, they're always good.
I love that issue.
Oh, yeah. These are some...
Good choices. Good choices.
An annual got stuck in there. Ignore that annual.
Get that annual out of there.
That's good, though. That's good stuff. But yeah. Check it out. Inferno. It's crazy. It's just everyone fighting demons, and it's in every book basically. Because back then, crossovers were
meant something.
Crossovers, like everyone got sucked into crossovers back in those days. But now they're just like they choose a couple. They're like, this is the Fantastic Four X-Men crossover, or this is the Avengers X-Men crossover.
Yeah, and you kind of envision
Before,
there's whole groups of
Marvel-wide.
people. There's whole groups of people who are like, yeah, I'm staying out of this one. Screw this. Because there's like so many factions that when like, X-Men versus Avengers happened, for example, the Defenders were like, we'll stay in space. Fantastic Four mostly just fucked
Didn't
up.
matter.
Didn't matter. Well, and it was like
All
for
I
that
need now
Civil
is
War
for
too.
you to contact your students, Professor.
Did we get rid of the movie recommendations, Davin? You never do those anymore.
No, we're just running along in the tooth tonight, so I thought.
Well, you cut them last time for the same reason. No, it's fine. I just feel like it's always my.
You have a movie ready?
Yeah, I did, but it's fine. You don't have to.
Well, let's
talk
do
about
it. We don't need homework. Everyone knows what their fucking homework is. No, you're doing movie instead of homework. I don't want you to be sad, Andre.
I was going to go kill myself,
You're a sensitive
actually.
boy, and I don't want you to be sad.
I got the gun loaded, and I was going to end it all. But maybe I'll stay alive for another day.
I'm going to choose to believe that you have bishop powers, and that's an energy rifle.
You don't like the movie? Change the channel.
My remote.
I lied. I don't have anything. I'm just kidding.
What
I was going to suggest.
That's good because my video game segment's going to be real long tomorrow.
What I was going to suggest was going to be the movie Prince of Darkness by John Carpenter. The score, and the green stuff and all that stuff is kind of reminiscent of that. It combines
Is
occult.
the green stuff in an elevator in that movie?
No, the weird blobby thing was in the elevator in the movie.
Oh,
the basic concept is that there's in the basement of a crazy college, or no, sorry, in the basement of some part of some secret church somewhere, this group of priests are always to guard this vial of green ooze, which many believe contains the devil or Satan. Or wait, sorry, the devil. It's very quantum. It
contains the devil.
It's very quantum mechanics. It's almost the belief that if there's a god, there must be an anti-god, and that the opposite of that god would produce something like this. And this is the thing. It's the essence of evil, and these students are studying it, and some of it starts affecting things around them, and it gets stuff. But it's very interesting. It's very cool. It's got some very unique ideas, and it's a very, very fun movie, and not one that people talk about a lot when they talk about John Carpenter movies. Also, Alice Cooper has a cameo in it, so that's fun. He plays a homeless person affected by the evil. And Davin, you like quantum mechanics? I feel like that'd be right up your alley.
I love quantum mechanics.
It's full. This movie is full of it. Full of quantum ideas.
Over it then. I love John Carpenter, and I love quantum.
It's also got the guy that plays Mr. or Egg. What's his name? Egg Foo? Egg Yen from Big Trouble in Little China. He's in it. The other guy that played Loomis in the Halloween movies. I'm going to take a minute to think of his name. He's in it.
The guy who played Dr. Loomis, right?
Yeah, he was one of the Blofeld, one of the Bond movies. It'll come to me in a minute. British actor.
Yeah, it'll come to me in a minute too. God damn. Look it up. It's driving me crazy.
I'll look it up. I literally said his name yesterday when I was talking about a movie, and it came to me no problem. For some reason, Donald Pleasance. Donald
Pleasance, of course. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, so you can support our show at patreon.com/X-Men Review Show, or you want to get some sweet merch, head over to redbubble.com
sweet merch
/X-Men Review Show /shop. So check that out. We get some sweet merch. We've been selling some stickers the last few days. People are all about those Magneto is right stickers.
Nice. Well, I have a little bit of open time now, so if you need me to design something new, I probably can do so.
Yeah, throw some stuff together. I got some ideas.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Show them over.
I always do. Well, especially with the new show, all kinds of stuff. Oh, like X-Goon Hanif has an interesting idea. I mean, we'd be kind of like, we'd have to redesign something that exists, but we've done that before. So,
have you seen our title, our logo?
Yeah, exactly. Or Magneto is right stickers.
That's true.
Contact us at xmenreviewshow@gmail.com or follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find our audio-only version wherever you get your podcasts. That is a promise. And please like, review, subscribe. Give us some reviews, people. Lots of likes, lots of subscribes. We love you all. But, tell us what you think. Give us a review. Why not?
Yeah, give a 5-star rating if you don't and then we'll read it on the air, even if it's bad.
That's right.
Yeah, only 5 stars.
We want to mix it up with you people. Come on, get in. We'll mix it up with you. Get in here.
Yeah, and we are a proud member of the United Federation of Podcasts, which you can check out at ufpodcast.com. But Andre, the question becomes, what's going on over at the...
We're asking at the... Going on over at the...
What's it, some kind of show, is it?
Yeah,
next episode just dropped. Episode just dropped with Diedrich O. Smith from this week. Great chat. Really fun guy. Got a personal call from the Ultimate Warrior. If you want to find out
what charming Southern accent.
He does have a charming Southern accent.
He really did.
Then next up is my talk with Gary K. Wolfe, the author of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, or Who Censored Roger Rabbit, the book that inspired the movie. Very fun talk. A very, very cool guy. Talks a lot about...
How many minutes in do you stop fanboying?
I don't think it's that many. I told him right at the get-go. It's funny because I tell him right at the get-go, and that not to blow smoke up your ass, I say, but whenever people ask what my favorite movie is, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is my favorite movie. And he says it's his too. So
of course it's his too. That's hilarious though.
But and then we we chat about it. He has a lot of interesting stories. The Pope read one of his books. They try to get him to do a blurb for one of them. It's really funny. And a lot of stuff.
A blurb for Roger Rabbit. Can you imagine?
The Pope apparently is a big fan of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the movie. But
which Pope? Francis?
Yeah, I was gonna say the current Pope.
I don't think. Well, it must have been.
Jean Paul back in the day.
No, because it was someone who read his new book, which Space Vulture, that only came out a year ago. So probably is the current Pope. After that, we have Stephen Grant, who wrote the Punisher comic, Circle of Blood, and a lot of Moon Knight, Hulk, and a bunch of other big books back in the day. He wrote the comic Two Guns, which the movie is based on. He also wrote a bunch of Hardy Boy books under a pseudonym in the 90s, which is fun.
What was the pseudonym?
Franklin Dixon, or Frank Dixon, the guy that everybody writes them under the original author's name.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
But he wrote. Remember in like the early, like, 'cause I remember reading these in high school, like in the 90s when they tried to like make the Hardy Boys like more cool, and the covers were like all explosions. They used guns and stuff. He wrote a bunch of those, and he has a funny story about how like eventually they could use guns and shoot people, and then the publishers got like more nervous about how much violence the Hardy Boys could do. So like he goes, the first book it was like they could shoot people and it was fine. The second one they could point a gun at someone but they couldn't shoot it. The third one they could use knives. Knives are okay. He's like, knives are okay in the third one.
Knives are worse.
Yeah, that's what I said.
They're more
that's
personal.
Even worse.
Like,
so you chat with him, which is really fun. After that, it's Becky Kinsey, who works for the Indie Comics, run a Joe Shuster Award, the Gene Day Award, for her book Kahana Valley, and then Kahina Valley, and then we have Andrew Thomas, who's a letterer for Kevin Smith's newest book, and some other work as well, and does his own Indie Comics and works for Chapter House, which is a great chat as well. I was supposed to talk to Keith Kratchow, but didn't work out, so I'm going to connect with him when I get back from vacation.
Yeah, very good. Enjoy your vacation, Andre.
Thanks, man.
And other shows we have on our United Federation podcast. We just did I heard from Andre about our recent sports reviews.
It was mostly just you being unfair to actors that are in movies you don't like. And I haven't watched Foxcatcher.
Just wait till you see that movie. Just wait.
Well, I kind of like actually, it's one of the few movies that you guys convinced me that maybe I shouldn't watch. Although I do really like, I like a lot of the actors in it. And you guys said that this was like Steve Carell's first foray out of being comedic. It wasn't. It was Little Miss Sunshine was the one that really put him out of the map of.
That one had some funny moments in it.
But his character wasn't particularly funny in that.
No.
But it was incredibly performed. He did a really good job in that movie.
He's a good actor. That's why I was looking forward to Foxcatcher. But anyway.
Well, yeah, but he also he's also playing an existing person. So he's trying to be like that person.
The whole thing is weird. The whole thing was a mistake, I feel like. But
well, I think it made money and it did well. So if you don't like it, doesn't mean.
Yeah, I know. A lot of things make money. Crack cocaine.
That is true.
Money.
It does. And it's worth it. Believe me. Have you just heard how great crack cocaine is?
Although Super Mater Brothers, they do reality show reviews, and we do our Mary Mater Marvel Society over there. We'll be talking about, well, you know what? We're going to do a big X-rated Mary Mater Marvel Society crossover when Wolverine Deadpool comes out. So that'll be fun.
Ooh, that's fun.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I didn't know about this, but that sounds fun.
It'll be me, you, Jameel, and Cousin Dave will be talking about Deadpool.
Oh, I'm totally down for that.
And we're going to send it to our channels and the...
We should do parallel universe versions of each other. So, like, I'll be parallel universe.
Jameel.
Oh, God, no. No, I'm not doing that. I'll have to be in blackface. I'm not doing that. Jesus, they'll kill me.
No, I didn't mean... Oh, jeez. Andre. Oh, that's not what I meant.
I can be white Jameel, I guess. Exactly. What would that look like?
Doesn't he wear like two different colors on his glass? Isn't that caricature enough? No, I'm thinking of someone else.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be Jameel.
Metropolitan.
No, Spider Jerusalem.
Yeah, this is a great comic. Also, just side note, so I forgot to mention it. I've been watching the show The Bear. It's on Disney Plus. If you haven't watched it, I highly suggest it. It's very good.
I was talking to you about that when I was up.
Dan was telling me about it.
It's kind of like if you like Ted Lasso for movies that kind of make you feel good, but also like this one would be a step up because there's a lot more drama and harder stuff in it. But it does. There are many episodes that'll make your heart happy, which are nice.
There's a lot of episodes that make your chest hurt too.
Yeah, that's true. But it just means when the heart's happy. When your heart's happy, it means more. The end of season 1 had me. I was on the treadmill at the gym and I was grinning so hard that I must look like the biggest idiot in the planet. So
they drag you pretty low for some of that.
Oh man, the Christmas episode in season 2 I just watched today is like one of the hardest. Anybody comes from any kind of dysfunctional family, it'll hit you hard. It's very good.
From a dysfunctional family.
I think everybody does in some way.
And also, of course, our
look at those handsome devils.
Look, they're gorgeous. We're a gorgeous crew.
Is that hat standard issue Federation costume, David?
Not at all, but I maintain if Worf can wear a baldric, I can wear a band.
Oh, so you have an exemption for religious purposes.
Exactly. This is part of my spiritual beliefs.
I see. What is this religion? Because I'd like to subscribe to it.
Fly away hairs in my eyes. That's part of my religion.
What is this religion? So I can't subscribe to it.
You can or can't.
No, I want you to subscribe to it.
You do want
Davinism?
Well, we could call it that.
I like it.
But that sounds a bit narcissistic.
Yeah, I don't like that it's a subscription-based service.
Yeah, I don't like that
unsubscribe.
And also, we have Locutors of Trek, and of course, our many different divisions over there. And a couple things coming up soon. We have a ranking convention. We're going to rank the uniforms of Star Trek.
Ooh, that's interesting. Just the Starfleet uniforms.
And a few others. 81 total uniforms we will be ranking.
I feel like the Mirror Universe Starfleet universe costumes with the sash, the shiny sash, are very cool.
Well,
those included? They're in there?
They're in there. They're in
awesome.
there. Yeah, we got it all. And we do have a radio theater coming up. A gender-swapped edition of the Star Trek TNG episode Conundrum.
Oh, that's fun.
I'll be the narrator because our narrator is usually female. And everything's gender-swapped, basically. I mean, can you imagine Jane Mater playing Jean-Luc Picard, Dave Mater playing Ensign Ro Laren?
I cannot. This is insane.
It's amazing. I mean, it's not entirely gender swapped.
It's insane.
But there's a lot of that. Stephen Waters playing Deanna Troi. It's going to be a heck of a time.
This is madness. Madness, I tell you.
It is madness. And, of course, trivia debates. Well, there's the next one coming up. I don't know what it's about, so I'm not going to get into that right now. And Aiming on Track, the Hellbound podcast, and, of course, our newest member of our federation. Hey, did you see this one? With Jason Phillips and Stephen Waters. So that's it from us tonight. Anything else to say before we get out of here, fellas?
No, go. I guess your homework, if we skip that one, just watch the next episode, which drops tomorrow. Which looks amazing. Motendo. Yeah. So we're obviously getting Mojo back. We get Sunspot. From the little blurb they showed us, it's Jubilee and Sunspot stuck in video game world.
In Super Nintendo, of all things.
Yeah, probably. Which is fucking awesome. It looks like so much fun.
Oh, you know what? Did you notice they used the Sega voice? You know, Sega.
Yeah, I did notice that.
In those other episodes.
I prefer the fast one. Sega.
Sega. Sega. Yeah. Sega became the Game Gear one. But, yeah, that's funny how maybe they're leaning more Sega Genesis. I don't know. We'll find out. But anyway, next you won't be able to join in on the comments on the next episode. Andre and I are pre-recording the next episode because Andre thinks Vacation is more important than the X-Men 97 cartoon, which I don't know if I agree with him, but he has that right. He has that right.
I mean, that seems like an oversimplification and also a vilification of me for no reason whatsoever.
No, we will not judge you. My sentence was not finished. I said we will not judge him for this decision.
I feel like that's a judgment.
Vacation.
I feel like the way Dan back me up here. I feel like the way he phrased that sentence was a judgment.
No, of course not.
I mean,
no.
He has the right to leave.
Yeah, so I'll just tell my wife we can't go on vacation this year because I need to be here in person instead of something we can record before to do one episode of this show that we could do pre-recorded.
I mean, when you put it that way, but the show's also over in 7 weeks. So you know what? Nobody's wrong here. Nobody's wrong.
You are, sir.
I had to use all my vacation.
Well, maybe it's me. Maybe it's no one.
Oh, that sucks. Really? You don't have paternal leave or whatever? Your job?
No. She's on her leave. I'll be using.
Look at Storm. She's leaving. We'll leave. We're all leaving.
She's coming back.
You say it ain't so.
Say it ain't so. Your love is a heartbreaker.
Catch it.
Gimmick can never
Say it ain't so.